Olivia woke up on Sunday at almost 10 o'clock. It had been a while since she slept in so late. After freshening up and changing clothes, she was just about to begin her day when she received a call from Chris.
"Where are you?"
Chris's voice sounded playful. "At home, what's up?" Olivia opened her book and inquired.
"I'm at your doorstep. Come out for a moment,"
Chris said. "Chris, could you stop with these surprise visits?" Olivia shook her head helplessly, though she still got up. "Wait for me."
"Sure thing, ma'am."
After hanging up, Chris looked at the gift in the car with satisfaction. He was confident that Olivia would like this. As they stepped out of the house, Olivia spotted Chris in casual attire leaning against Sven's sapphire blue sports car. He wore a warm smile, and the sunlight illuminated his face, rendering him quite handsome. "Chris, what's going on?" Olivia approached him and asked, hoping there was something important. "I got a gift for you." Chris gestured toward the box in the car. "Let Sven bring it up to you." "Why me?" Sven pointed at himself with bewilderment. Wasn't his role already as the driver and assistant to Chris? Why should he also become a porter? "Enough with the chit-chat," Chris reprimanded. You, sir, are ruthless," Sven remarked. Stepping out of the main driver's seat, he went to the back of the car and said, "Can't I lend a hand?" "What is this?" Olivia was puzzled. "I don't need any gifts." "You'll like it," Chris reassured her. "I promise." "Huh?" Olivia glanced at Chris's expression and felt slightly dumbfounded. What was he talking about? "Let's go." Sven exerted effort to lift the box. Move aside, move aside." The object was pretty hefty. "No, what is this thing?" Olivia followed behind Sven. "Sven, don't take it to my room. Tell me what's inside first." The box was quite large. What could it possibly contain? It looked pretty weighty. "Please know that this was Chris's idea," Sven replied with strain, hastily maneuvering the box toward Olivia's room. He strained to move it, unwilling to respond to Olivia's inquiries further. Monica, who was practicing her cooking skills in the kitchen, heard the commotion and stepped out. She spotted Chris passing by the living room on his way up the stairs. "Chris!" Monica's eyes lit up, joy flooding her heart. She quickly rushed back into the kitchen to cut a plate of fruit herself. She wanted to impress Chris anew. "What's this?" Olivia stared at the large box that had been transported into her bedroom, a frown creasing on her forehead. Could it be some sort of monitoring equipment or explosives? "Open it and see," Chris suggested, his gaze fixed on Olivia. "I think you'll definitely like it." "So confident," Olivia scoffed, curling her lips. Chris always seemed godlike in his assurance. Opening the box, she revealed a tightly sealed foam board. After dismantling it, she uncovered its contents. "A computer?" "Yes," Sven replied, panting lightly. "This is a custom-built desktop assembled by Chris himself. Each component was state-of-the-art. Some core functionalities were retained while the main casing was modified, adding to its overall weight. This time, Sven didn't find the effort too taxing. "Olivia, clear your desk," Chris directed her. Okay." Olivia complied and started clearing her workspace. "How much does this computer cost?" Chris had assembled it personally, so it must be expensive. 5,000? Maybe 10,000? Olivia pondered, not wanting to owe Chris further favors. "How about I pay you 5,000 for this? I can't accept it for free." "Oofed," Sven chuckled, lifting the computer onto Olivia's table. He playfully knocked on it with a fist. 5,000 might not even cover the outer shell of this computer." "Huh? That's quite an exaggeration." Olivia's lip twitched. She clearly found it hard to believe. This computer was just a computer. $5,000 wasn't enough for its shell? What kind of joke was this? "The casing is bulletproof," Sven explained with a grin. Both his and Chris's computers were bulletproof as well. Given the sensitive information stored, it was crucial to ensure there was no security breaches. "Huh? This computer is bulletproof?" Olivia felt the immense divide between her world and that of the tycoons. "Such a valuable gift doesn't quite suit me." This computer suits you perfectly, Chris affirmed, confident of his statement. It comes with a level 1 defense monitoring system. I can guarantee that no hacker for the next 50 years will be able to breach the defense I put in place. In the future, you'll have a lot of confidential matters. This computer is well suited to your needs. Olivia was touched by Chris's words. Seriously, how much does it cost? I can pay you for it, she offered, having some savings. It's priceless. Chris held Olivia's hands. Let's try it out and see how it feels. Fine, Olivia agreed, booting up the computer. An initial password prompt appeared. After entering it, a dragon symbol emerged on the screen. It began to move, circling before facing Olivia. After the dragon's eye registered her gaze, the totem slowly faded, revealing the usual boot-up sequence. How is it? Pretty cool, right? Sven smirked. Yes, Olivia nodded. It's quite impressive, but can't others just use my computer to turn it on? Yes, they can, entering a separate system. Chris explained as he tapped a few keys on Olivia's keyboard, switching to another interface. They enter this virtual system. You can monitor their activities on this page within your own system. Chris reverted back to the initial system and displayed it to Olivia. Can I identify who accessed my computer? Olivia queried. Yes, it has an automatic monitoring feature. Chris demonstrated. What's this icon then? Olivia pointed at a commanding dragon icon on the desktop. Try clicking it twice. Chris smiled. All right, Olivia said, tapping it twice. Suddenly, a video window appeared, displaying Chris's face. Turning to Chris, she found him filming with his phone. This is a special channel for our video calls. Chris grinned. Olivia narrowed her eyes slightly. What was the point of such a basic feature? She dragged the icon to the trash can but found it unerasable. Hee. Chris smirked knowingly. Olivia rolled her eyes. Why did you install such a useless function? A sense of aversion towards Chris suddenly welled up within Olivia. How could it be useless? It makes finding you much more convenient, Chris countered with a grin. Isn't it already convenient? Olivia was incredulous. Chris had a knack for springing surprises any time. How could it be inconvenient? I said it's more convenient now, Chris insisted. He gave another teasing smile. Olivia couldn't help but roll her eyes again. Just then, a knock sounded on the door, and Monica walked in, carrying a plate of fruits. Sister, I noticed you have a guest, so I brought some fruits. Raising an eyebrow, Olivia quipped, Put them over there. Sure. Monica placed the fruit plate nearby and eyed the computer on Olivia's desk with a hint of jealousy. That computer's so pretty, it's silver and sleek. The design feels very futuristic, and it seems so lightweight. Whoa, it's even customized? She said, drawing closer. This was a gift from Chris to you, wasn't it? The thought left a twinge of unease in Monica's heart, but she continued. This computer's really nice. You're very lucky. What's so lucky about me? Olivia chuckled. Chris treats you so well, of course you're lucky. Monica responded, smiling. Olivia regarded Monica quietly for a moment. Do you need anything else? If not, you know where the door is. Monica clenched her fist and offered a smiling nod. Of course. She then smiled at Chris and Sven before leaving. However, as soon as her back was turned, the smile vanished from Monica's face. Damn you, Olivia, Monica thought. I'm gonna make you look stupid and treat you flippantly one day, just like you did to me just now. Olivia watched Monica's departure and snorted. Turning around, she addressed Chris. Chris, what other functions does this computer have? Tell me quickly, and after that, you can leave. I need to focus on my studies. Chris's lip twitched. Why did he feel so aggrieved? I'll help myself to some fruit, Sven interjected, suppressing his amusement. He coughed awkwardly and walked over to the fruit plate that Monica had brought. While you two go over the computer. Chris sighed and went on to explain all the functions of the computer in detail. Got it, Olivia replied attentively. That's pretty much it, Chris said. If you encounter any issues while using it, feel free to ask me or Sven. All right, Olivia nodded, expressing her gratitude. Thank you. Despite feeling a bit exasperated by the video software joke, she acknowledged that Chris's intentions were good and that this gift was incredibly useful, kind, and thoughtful. "You're welcome," Chris said, reaching out to pat Olivia's head. His fondness for those he cared about made words of gratitude unnecessary. "Thanks isn't necessary." Olivia blushed, evading Chris's touch. She added, "Seriously, how much is this worth? I'll transfer the money." "No need." Chris pondered for a moment. "How about this? Let's exchange it for a favor." "What kind of favor?" Olivia inquired, raising a dubious eyebrow. "I haven't thought of it yet." Chris smiled. "We'll discuss it when I come up with an idea." "Don't ask for too much," Olivia warned. "What? You don't want to make a deal with me?" Chris chuckled. "First, I won't pressure you into doing anything you don't want. Second, you don't have to agree to anything beyond your capacity. Third, no need to go on. I'll do you a favor in return for this." Olivia interrupted Chris. She owed him that much by now. Besides, she sort of liked this ongoing, teasing relationship they had, even if it annoyed the hell out of her sometimes. "All right," Chris agreed. "Chris, should we go now?" Sven asked, holding an empty plate. He had finished his fruit and was ready to leave. "See you at school tomorrow," Olivia replied, waving her hand goodbye. "And thanks again." "Sure thing," Chris nodded, and he and Sven left Olivia's room. Olivia watched them go and let out a sigh. She now owed Chris another favor. The situation was spiraling out of control like a snowball, getting bigger and bigger, yet she knew it would continue on like this, part of her enjoying it. Unsure of what kind of request Chris might make, Olivia shook her head and resumed her seat in front of the computer. She needed to study this computer further. Down in the driveway, as Chris settled into the car beside Sven, he received an overseas call. After a brief conversation, Chris's expression grew much more serious. "What's the matter?" Sven glanced at him, concerned. He glanced again, focusing on Chris. "Chris, is something wrong?" "My second granduncle is returning to the country." Chris's brow furrowed. "My grandfather's younger brother." "Who?" Sven hit the brakes abruptly and stared at Chris in disbelief. "That old man who cooks like a maniac?" "Yeah, my second granduncle," Chris confirmed, looking at Sven. "Apologies." Sven pursed his lips. "You can't blame me for being haunted by childhood memories. That second granduncle of yours is quite eccentric." "I understand." Chris acknowledged that Sven's reaction wasn't his fault. His second granduncle was indeed rather unusual. "Ah." Sven rested his head on the steering wheel. "Just mentioning him gives me a stomachache." "He mentioned that he's coming to New York City to visit me," Chris said, highlighting the worrisome part. "Please, no," Sven exclaimed, his face horrified. "Chris, how about I go hide out in Italy for a while? Or maybe I could go to London to help Dave Simon. I think he needs my assistant urgently." "Keep dreaming." Chris shot a glance at Sven. If Sven ran away, he'd be left with only Chris and Vera. Did Sven think he could just escape? Not a chance. "Chris," Sven had a pained expression. He honestly didn't want to relive that nightmare ever again. "Drive," Chris instructed. "Chris," Sven looked at Chris hesitantly. "Drive!" Chris's tone became more assertive. "All right." Sven sighed and restarted the car, although in his heart he remained opposed. Chris shared the news with Vera as soon as he reached home. "What?" Vera was taken aback for a moment. Then she hastily packed her belongings. "I'm going to get out of town for a bit. I'll be back when he leaves." "Forget about it." Sven confiscated Vera's suitcase. There was no escaping this, and Vera wasn't inclined to run away from things either. "No," Vera wore a defiant expression. "I don't want to be treated like a sitting duck anymore. It's too terrifying." "Actually, second granduncle's cooking isn't that bad." Chris tried to reassure them. "Of course not. He's like one of the 10 greatest chefs in the world." Vera sighed. "But he insists on cooking a massive spread and forcing us to eat everything. I always end up practically throwing up after the meal." "Ew," Sven grimaced. Don't talk about it." The memories of that stuffed duck were absolutely horrifying. Chris's expression wasn't much better, and his stomach turned as well. That period of time was truly a childhood trauma. Meanwhile, in a secluded villa by the Rhine River, an elderly man with white sideburns gazed at a photograph in his hand and smiled. He didn't know how those children were doing, and wasn't expecting them to miss him. That evening, when Michael returned home, he brought Olivia a brand new laptop. "Oh, thank you, Dad." Olivia expressed her gratitude with a smile as she received the laptop. She didn't know how to break the news to her dad that she already had a computer in her room now. "Liv, didn't Chris give you a desktop earlier today?" Monica needled her older sister. She felt incredibly envious, but she maintained a smiling face. She asked, "Why did Dad buy you another one?" Michael looked at Olivia, wondering if he had gone overboard with the purchase. "What do you mean, another one?" "I had talked to him about computers earlier, so he unexpectedly bought one today before I could let him know that Chris got me one too." Olivia explained with a shrug. "I didn't want to be rude, so I accepted it." "That's good," Rachel chimed in. She knew that Monica had also received a computer a few years ago, and now it was opportune for her to get a new one. Rachel's gaze rested on the laptop Olivia held. "Yes, it worked out perfectly." Olivia understood Rachel's thoughts and cut her off. She smiled and suggested, "It would be convenient for me to have a laptop for when I'm at school, and then I can use the home desktop at home. I thought of the same for my own convenience, so this actually works." "Well, given the situation, why not lend the laptop to your sister Monica temporarily? She's been using her current one for years." Rachel persisted, suggesting, "You can take it back once she gets a new computer. She's facing a lot of stress studying in her classes right now. In fact, she'd probably be fine with using the desktop if you need the laptop for convenience at both home and school." "But my desktop was a gift from Chris. It doesn't seem right to do that," Olivia responded, looking at Rachel. There weren't many people who dared to propose such an idea. "Just explain it to Chris," Rachel proposed. "It's just a family matter. It's not like you're lending it to a stranger." "Then why don't you tell Chris yourself?" Olivia was tired of arguing with Rachel. This woman would turn shameless when she became greedy. Rachel faltered, rendered speechless. How could she say something like that? "Never mind," Michael intervened, sensing the awkwardness. He suggested, "I'll have Aunt Lepar arrange for a new computer for Monica tomorrow." "Thank you, Dad." Monica promptly expressed her gratitude. Then she made a request. "Dad, could you ask Ansel to help me set up the computer too?" "Of course," Michael agreed. "Thank you." Monica's eyes lit up with joy. If Olivia had it, she wanted it too. Olivia lowered her head and offered a faint smile. Miss Monica was putting in a great deal of effort to mimic her speech and mannerisms, but her underlying intelligence was still the same, profoundly lacking. In fact, the moment she decided to copy Olivia, Monica had already started looking irreparably foolish. Now Monica would be forced to pretend to be happy and even-keeled all the time, something that didn't come naturally to her, and which required a taxing amount of effort, which was comedic to watch for Olivia. "Monica," Michael directed his attention to Monica. "There's still a month left before Chef Mario Vincenzo's event. During this time, you should strive to practice and put in extra effort." "Okay, Dad." Monica nodded enthusiastically. She had set all her hopes on this opportunity to become a student of the master chef. "Well," Rachel sighed with a pang of empathy, expressing, "Monica's already putting in a lot of effort. The day of the mentee selection event by Chef Mario Vincenzo is almost as nerve-wracking as the day Monica took her high school exams. She's practicing cooking every day, and on top of that, she stays up late revising her recipes. It's not easy." "Mom, I'm fine," Monica grinned, shaking her head. "Despite the hardships, I'll endure. After all, I want to bring honor to the Johnson family." "Silly child." Rachel fondly rubbed Monica's head and looked at Michael with a proud smile. "Honey, look at how Monica has matured." "Monica, Dad doesn't need you to bring glory to the Johnson family. I want you to be happy and pursue the life you desire." Michael had been contemplating many things lately. After realizing Olivia's intention to develop a game, he felt that it was better for his child to have personal interests rather than carry the burdens of the family. "Since you've been putting in so much effort, perhaps why not focus on preparing for your exams? There's not much difference between Chef Vincenzo's event and your studies." "Dad, I want to do this, though," Monica replied, her eyes pleading. "Although I'm young, I still want to contribute to the Johnson family. Besides, Uncle Bruno has already agreed. If I don't participate, it might affect Chef Vincenzo's impression of our family." "Then how about letting Olivia participate in the competition instead? If it's about our family and not you specifically. That way you can concentrate on your studies," Michael proposed after thinking for a moment. He believed that even if Monica wasn't chosen as Chef Mario Vincenzo's disciple and mentee, her failure wouldn't tarnish the Johnson family's reputation. Both Monica and Rachel were taken aback by his suggestion. Olivia chuckled. Michael's suggestion was hilarious. She could see through his intentions. It was quite a feat for these two to make her look favorable in Michael's eyes. Little did they know that it was so easy. "No, that's not necessary." Monica quickly changed her stance. "Olivia's also working hard. She has even harder high school coursework to manage." "Yes," Rachel joined in, attempting to mend the situation. "Monica has prepared for this for so long. It would be a shame to not participate. Aside from that, it's also a valuable opportunity for her to grow." "That's right, Dad," Monica affirmed. "Participating is what matters. I promise I'll manage my time and mental state so it won't be too overwhelming." "If you can handle your time well, then I suppose it's fine," Michael agreed. Sighs of relief escaped the mother and daughter as they heard Michael's response. With the tension eased, Monica shifted her attention to Olivia. "Does Olivia even know how to cook?" "Not really well, but mostly I just fool around and make things," Olivia smirked. "How about we participate together?" Monica quipped. She was determined to outshine Olivia during the event. After all, the Johnson family was known for its culinary skills. The one with the better skills would earn admiration, applause, and even flowers. "Let's not." Olivia glanced at Monica. She had no interest in such matters. "Olivia, this would be an excellent opportunity for improvement," Rachel chimed in, sensing Monica's intentions. "The outcome isn't what matters most, it's the experience." "You're right," Monica added. "It can be seen as our family valuing the event more if we, the sisters, participate. Chef Vincenzo might even appreciate it as well." "Why does his happiness matter to me?" Olivia found it amusing. "Olivia, how about giving it a try?" Michael proposed. He didn't intend for Olivia or Monica to be selected as Chef Mario Vincenzo's mentees. His aim was simply to expose them to broader horizons and opportunities. "All right," Olivia agreed reluctantly, since Michael had already spoken. "I guess I'll look into entering the competition." Rachel and Monica exchanged glances and their eyes lit up. Finally, the opportunity for them to take center stage had arrived. Meanwhile, among Olivia's group of friends, their video game development was in full swing, and Zach's involvement added even more strength to Olivia's team. His sister Hannah was instrumental in locating a reputable outsourcing company that offered reasonable prices. Each team member had their designated tasks, collaborating harmoniously while enjoying the process and gaining valuable insights. Unfortunately, things weren't going as smoothly for Wendy or Steve. "Wendy, turns out you're not as great as you claim to be, huh?" Steve folded his arms across his chest, observing Wendy, who stood before him with her head lowered, fixated on the ground. "We agreed on creating 10 opportunities for me to be alone with Olivia. So why haven't you arranged a single one for me?" It's not entirely my fault." Wendy's gaze remained downward as she mumbled, Liv's been really busy. That's precisely why we need to create opportunities, don't you see that? Steve scrutinized Wendy, who seemed completely bewildered, confirming that she didn't understand. With a sigh, he continued, Wendy, you need to be more vigilant. Wendy recoiled, feeling unjustly accused. How could she not be careful? She muttered. It was you who intentionally picked a quarrel with me. What are you muttering? Steve couldn't catch her words clearly, taking a step forward to hear her better. Nothing. Wendy instinctively retreated a step while shaking her head. Why are you avoiding talking to me right now? Steve chuckled at the situation, moving closer. As Wendy tried to retreat once again, he playfully added, You're not allowed to hide. Reluctantly, Wendy ceased her retreat, lifting her head slightly to meet Steve's gaze. Now she found it easier to face him. Although her feelings for him persisted, the earlier struggle of being unable to speak to him had subsided. Wendy, help me find an opportunity quickly. Maybe this Saturday, the day after tomorrow? Arrange for you and Olivia to meet, and then I'll be there instead. Steve proposed with a mischievous grin. He intended to set up another scenario involving Jeremy. He wanted to witness Jeremy's reaction when he saw Steve and Olivia alone on a date. The prospect amused him greatly. I don't really want to, Wendy responded feebly. What? Steve was taken aback. Wendy, this is what you agreed upon before. Are you going back on your word? Are you not afraid that I'll publicly display that disgustingly cheesy love letter on the school bulletin board? Seriously? Wendy was bewildered, her gaze meeting Steve's as she stammered, You would actually do that. It's not just a threat. Her heart raced, and a rosy blush spread across her cheeks. Maybe, Steve admitted. He had no business reading other love letters. It was a matter of ethical boundaries, and he adhered to them. However, he couldn't resist playing with Wendy due to her amusing reaction. It's well written, so people should see it. Wendy was at a loss for words. She was upset he had read the letter in the first place, though maybe she shouldn't be. After all, she had written that letter for Steve, so he had every right to read it. Yet her current embarrassment made her regret ever letting him come into possession of it. She only wanted it back. You should return it to me. Why should I return it? Steve studied her with a playful smirk. You're the one who reneged on our deal first. Why should I give it back? Help me set up a one-on-one hang with Olivia, and I'll return it to you. He paused before adding, I don't even need 10 opportunities, not even 5. No, let's make it 3 times, and I'll give the note back to you. Wendy's heart grew increasingly uneasy upon hearing this. What kind of person was this? It was one thing before, but now he knew that she liked him after reading her love letter. Yet he still wanted her to arrange a meeting with Liv. How could she develop any affection for someone like this? A strong sense of revulsion surged within Wendy. Her voice grew louder as she exclaimed, You clearly have feelings for Jeremy, so why are you pushing me to ask Liv out? If she had mistakenly believed that Wendy had feelings for Jeremy earlier and deliberately snatched him away to mock her, she could accept it. But now that he had read her love letter, why did he still insist on asking Liv out? Was he deliberately humiliating her? What are you saying? Who do I like? Steve's brain stalled. Since when had he developed feelings for Jeremy? You like Jeremy! You like Jeremy! Wendy's agitation grew with her words, and her eyes welled with tears. If you like him, just admit it. Why are you tormenting me? Who said that? Steve's brows furrowed. He had intended to jest with Olivia and irritate Jeremy, but now he found himself entangled in this mess. I'm not telling you. Wendy was unwavering. She would never betray Olivia. We both know now. Wendy. Steve placed his hand on her shoulder. Don't forget that I still have your love letter. You have to agree to my request. Stop! Wendy's frustration deepened. Was this guy really this relentless? But I don't need you to help me ask Olivia out anymore. Steve was quick to rectify his mistake. He needed a way to fix the situation immediately. Wendy, pretend to be my girlfriend. I'll treat you well. Coincidentally, Wendy had feelings for Jeremy. As long as she cooperated, there would be no unnecessary complications, nor would rumors circulate that he was gay. A whirlwind of thoughts spun in her head. Wendy stared at Steve blankly. her eyes filled with disbelief and disappointment. You want me to pretend to be your girlfriend?
Yes, pretend to be my girlfriend, Steve asserted. There's only a few months left in the school year. We can pretend until then, is that okay? A slap connected with Steve's face. Wendy clenched her lower lip, her gaze piercing into him. For a prolonged moment, Steve remained dumbfounded before a wave of anger surged within him. What the hell, Wendy, are you out of your mind? I hate you. I never want to see you again. Wendy's tears flowed down her cheeks like tiny pearls. The emotions were overwhelming. You despicable, insincere jerk. She spat out those words and hastened away with swift strides. Me? Steve was bewildered. He wasn't gay, and yet she was accusing him of being so. How could he be called insincere? Despite his penchant for jesting, he had never played with someone's feelings before. How could he be labeled as such? The faster she ran, the more Wendy felt that something was off within her. She experienced a distinct unease. She didn't know how long she ran or where she ended up. Exhaustion forced her to halt, staring at the completely unfamiliar surroundings. She sank to the ground, hugging her knees as she wept. Why had she fallen for such a despicable person? Even though she knew her feelings for him, he had still treated her this way just because she wasn't attractive enough. Just because she wasn't intelligent? Just because she lacked money? Just because she was ordinary? This wasn't her fault. Steve's voice echoed in her ears, along with memories of her father humiliating her by throwing money at her face months ago. It's not my fault, Wendy repeated over and over as she wrapped her arms around her knees and bit her lower lip. Why did Steve treat me like this? Perhaps the fatigue from crying had taken its toll, but staring at the unfamiliar surroundings, Wendy felt lost and helpless. Retrieving her phone, she saw that only one bar of battery remained. Hastily dialing Olivia's number, she waited for her friend to pick up, and then quickly uttered, "Liv." "What's the matter?" Olivia replied quickly over the phone. She immediately noticed the hoarseness and sorrow in Wendy's voice. She asked, "Where are you?" I don't know where I am," Wendy managed to say amid her sobs. "I'm lost and my phone is about to die." "Don't worry, share your location with me. Stay put and I'll come to get you," Olivia advised urgently, observing the darkening sky outside with concern. "Don't wander around." "All right." After a while of sobbing, Wendy hung up the call and shared her location with Olivia. Just as she sent the information, her phone automatically shut down. Left with no other choice, Wendy squatted down, awaiting Olivia's arrival in silence. "Vera, let's call it a day for the tutoring session." Olivia closed her book, addressing her tutor. "I need to pick up a friend." "Of course," Vera gestured dismissively. "If you have something to attend to, go ahead. Sven will be here to pick me up later." "Thank you. I apologize for the interruption." Olivia smiled apologetically. Upon leaving the room, she instructed a maid to bring another plate of fruit to her room. Descending the stairs and reaching the entrance, Olivia realized that her favorite driver, Morris Pratt, had already gone home for the evening. Frustrated, she noticed her father, Michael, arriving. Eagerly, she greeted him. "Dad, can you drive me somewhere?" "Of course." Michael noted his daughter's urgency and didn't even enter the house before heading back out with her. "Are they kidding?" Monica scoffed. Both Rachel and Monica were taken aback. Monica had specifically prepared a meal for Michael today. Why was he leaving so suddenly? "It's all Olivia's doing." Rachel sighed, clearly annoyed. Olivia seemed to employ every possible tactic to win her father's favor. And even worse, it was working. "Mommy, it's all right." Monica took a deep breath and assured, "Chef Maria Vincenzo's recruitment competition is right around the corner. I'll make sure she regrets crossing us then." "Behave." Rachel patted Monica's hand reassuringly. "My Monica has grown and is becoming more patient, remember?" Yeah, I know." Monica nodded in agreement, determined to work even harder. She knew that her imitation of Olivia was getting better and better. Not only her expressions, tone, and gestures, but also her composed demeanor in various situations. She had mastered it all, and it proved truly effective. The more she imitated her sister's demeanor and mannerisms, the more her father seemed to like her and respect her. "Fine, I'll behave," Monica pouted, waiting for the day she wouldn't have to pay attention to Olivia anymore. Meanwhile, Olivia sat in the car with her father, Michael, and typed an address on the GPS. "Dad, this is the location we're headed to." "All right," Michael agreed and steered the car toward the direction indicated by the GPS. "Olivia, why the urgency to go there?" "Wendy is lost. She was crying when she called me and dropped me this pen for her location." Olivia's forehead creased with worry. "It's already so late, and I'm quite concerned about her." "Ah, I see." Michael nodded and refrained from asking further questions. Wendy remained squatting, her legs growing numb. She still appeared somewhat dazed. She couldn't fathom why so many things were happening to her. As the headlights of a car illuminated her, Wendy shielded her eyes and heard Olivia's voice. Attempting to stand up, she realized her legs lacked strength and caused her considerable pain. "Liv!" "Wendy!" Olivia stepped out of the car and rushed to Wendy's side, supporting her as she teetered on the brink of collapse. "What happened? Where do you feel uncomfortable?" My legs are numb." Wendy grimaced while baring her teeth. "You really can't move here. Let me help you." Olivia sighed and helped Wendy slowly into the car, guiding her to sit in the back seat. Once Wendy was inside, she spotted Michael. "Hello, Mr. Johnson." "Hello, Wendy," he acknowledged, glancing at Wendy through the rearview mirror. His silence spoke volumes. "Wendy, how did you end up in such a remote place?" Olivia's anxiety grew as she considered the possibilities. She couldn't help but express her gratitude that no harm had come to her friend. "I got lost," Wendy murmured, avoiding mentioning what Steve had said. It was a painful memory, and she was too embarrassed to share it. This was her only shred of dignity left. "I understand." Olivia sensed Wendy's reluctance and decided not to press further. "You haven't had dinner, have you?" "No," Wendy nodded. She'd been summoned by Steve right after school, leaving her no time to eat. "Dad, have you had dinner?" Olivia inquired, looking at Michael. "No, I just finished work," Michael replied while driving. "Then let's eat first. I haven't eaten either," Olivia suggested, considering her father's well-being as well. "How about a deli or some ramen or something quick?" "All right," Michael agreed, aware of a good ramen shop nearby. Feeling hesitant to eat much, Wendy considered declining, but she found herself unable to articulate her refusal. Both Olivia and Michael had gone to the trouble of searching for her. Even if she didn't want to eat, she couldn't bring herself to dampen their spirits. Parking the car in the building's downstairs lot, Olivia asked curiously, "Dad, isn't the Gold and Silver building a jewelry store? Do they serve food there too?" "Not within the building," Michael responded after locking the car. "I'll take you both to a hidden noodle shop. Outsiders aren't aware of it." "Ooh, okay," Olivia agreed, taking Wendy's hand and trailing Michael. She was genuinely intrigued by her father's words. A noodle shop, unknown to outsiders? Navigating through the streets adjacent to the Gold and Silver building, crossing 2 more streets and entering an obscure alley, Olivia arrived at a tiny noodle shop at the alley's end. "Is this the place?" Olivia gazed at the shop with a sense of warmth. "Yes," Michael affirmed, ushering them inside as he greeted the individuals behind the counter. "Is the boss here?" "Yes, welcome." An older man and a younger man were stationed behind the counter. The older man, middle-aged and energetic, appeared spirited and full of vitality. He seemed to be around Michael's age. "What brings you here, Michael?" "Oh my gosh, Michael, hi!" The younger one stepped forward with a gentle smile. "You know them?" Olivia glanced at her father curiously. Olivia, this is my friend who played the drums when I formed the band in college. You can call him Jacob. The one beside him is his son, Dusty. Michael introduced, continuing. Jacob, this is my daughter, Olivia, and her friend, Wendy. Hello. Olivia greeted Jacob with a nod, but as she looked at the people around Jacob, her shock grew. She remembered encountering Dusty in her previous life, but couldn't recall where. If her memory was accurate, Dusty was the top sniper for someone she couldn't recall. What was he doing here now? What would you like to eat? Jacob inquired with a smile. Today is my son's apprenticeship. You folks are in for a treat. My boy's skills surpass even mine. He won't let me down. Is that so? Michael chuckled. Then I must give it a try. After gesturing for Olivia and Wendy to sit, Michael placed his order. I'll have a portion of grilled noodles. Keep it simple. Wendy glanced at the wooden board menu on the wall and said, I'd like a serving of Sapporo noodles. Sapporo ramen, right? Jacob confirmed, then turned to Olivia. And you? Olivia regained her focus and looked at the small wooden board. Pig's cartilage ramen. All right, have a seat. It'll be ready shortly. Jacob signaled to his son and turned back to Michael, seating himself opposite him. Mikey, it's been a while since you visited. I've been a bit occupied lately, Michael responded. It's been some time indeed. The ambiance here remains tranquil. Indeed, Jacob chuckled, self-mocking. Aside from you, there aren't any other customers around. I see. Michael shook his head with a hint of exasperation. At your age, you're still so lighthearted. Who allowed you to set up shop in such a remote location? I've heard it's quite a hassle to get here. Well, with property prices these days, who can afford to rent for a shop in a prime location? Jacob pointed towards the table. No need to mention it. Even this small place of mine will see a rent increase starting next year. Why not collaborate with me? Michael couldn't fathom Jacob's reasoning. With such remarkable culinary skills, confining oneself to this diminutive establishment seemed counterproductive. And there wasn't even 2 customers present. No need. I might as well open my own restaurant. Jacob dismissed with a wave. I can't handle your level of management. You spent 3 years steering the university ship. Graduating was a hard-fought accomplishment for you. Why would I want to join your company? Jacob teased, though Olivia felt he thought there was some truth to his comment. Isn't that just inviting chaos? You're too reckless, not understanding the gravity of things, Michael sighed. If not for his supervision throughout their university years, Jacob wouldn't have graduated. He skipped morning exams for the sake of sleep and missed afternoon ones due to lunch. Michael couldn't fathom why someone could be so undisciplined. Jacob, an audacious drummer, joined Michael's band, leading to 3 years of supervision and support until graduation. Enough about that, old friend. It's all ancient history now. Jacob switched his focus to Olivia. Your name's Olivia, right? Yes. Olivia nodded, observing Jacob closely. Her gaze was equally assessing while Dusty was a sharpshooter. What about Jacob? What was he? Your dad is quite the traditionalist, huh? Doesn't that make your life difficult? Jacob leaned forward, inquiring with a grin. No, I'm good, Olivia responded with a smile. My dad is pretty easygoing with me. I see. Special treatment. Jacob nodded his head. Ah. His remark brought forth laughter from Olivia and Michael. Can they even compare? My daughter's far more sensible than we were at her age. She's the class president at Marshall High School. Michael spoke with evident pride. Wow, you must be as bored as your dad was, Jacob quipped, spreading his hands as he turned his gaze toward Wendy. Your friends was such a stick in the mud. You must have been like me in the past, right? Wendy was momentarily taken aback. Liv isn't boring. She didn't detect his sarcasm. Sir? She asked, pivoting the conversation. Can I ask you something? Sure, what is it? Jacob inquired. It's about a shop like this. Wendy gestured around. The small shop, measuring merely 40 square feet, could accommodate only a handful of tables and chairs. Its decor was simple and straightforward. How much does it cost to open one? Planning to open your own shop, eh? Jacob scanned the premises and answered, I rented this place for $40,000 a year. It's expected to go up to $50,000 next year, given the current real estate prices. A year's rent is $50,000? Wendy blinked in surprise. It seemed quite affordable, yet it demanded a hefty annual sum of $50,000. When would she ever be able to gather enough money for Desiree to open a restaurant one day? Shops in New York City do tend to be pricier. Michael nodded. This is the very low end of pricing, and you can see why. Nobody knows it's here. Don't worry, Olivia assured Wendy. She knew Wendy's dream was to buy a restaurant for Desiree, and she read her thoughts. It won't take us long once we're older. Olivia held confidence in their plan. She reckoned that getting enough capital wouldn't be an issue when the time came. Even if Wendy couldn't purchase a restaurant outright, it would suffice for 3 to 5 years of rent for a decent place. They just needed to keep striving. Money would come. Wendy nodded without further comment. To Olivia, this seemed straightforward, but for her, it was a monumental challenge. Such was the difference between them. I promise, Olivia asserted, hearing her friend's thoughts. Together, they would accomplish everything they set out to do. Pork-braised ramen coming right up. Dusty emerged with 2 servings of ramen, placing them before the two. He then returned to the kitchen, leaving a portion of Sapporo ramen pending. Olivia took a sip of soup first. Its savory and aromatic flavor was complemented by a hint of sweetness, and the velvety smooth texture carried the essence of the broth. Olivia's eyes sparkled involuntarily. It was the first time she had relished the soup this much. She scooped a spoonful and meticulously examined it, mentally dissecting its components. Onion? No, not onion, it's shallots. Wow, you've got quite the palate, just like your father. Jacob chuckled. If you and your father frequent this place a bit more, you might end up with all my secret recipes. Olivia chuckled awkwardly, taking another bite of the broth. She looked up and remarked, I have a question. This crescent moon almond seems different from what I usually have. It's incredibly tender and— Stop right there, don't ask. Jacob interjected hastily. This is genuinely a proprietary secret recipe. I can't confirm or deny anything. All right, Olivia shrugged. Olivia, try this. Michael selected a piece of grilled meat from his bowl, placing it in Olivia's. Thank you. She accepted it and took a bite. The meat's fatty yet non-greasy consistency melting in her mouth brought a gleam to Olivia's eye. Observing Michael feeding Olivia, Wendy lowered her head slightly, her eyes filled with a mix of envy and sadness. Wendy, taste this. Olivia picked a piece of pig soft bone from her bowl and offered it to Wendy. It's incredibly delicious. All right, Wendy nodded, accepting the bite. After a few chews, she exclaimed in surprise, It's really, really delicious. Soon, Wendy's order of Sapporo noodles was brought to the table. The bowl arrived steaming, adorned with a light layer of oily broth that shimmered like a golden, heavily woman loo, delicately sliced mushrooms forming a cross, 3 pieces of fish cake arranged neatly, the allure of heart-shaped eggs, and vibrant green vegetables. Visibly, this bowl of noodles was a feast for the eyes. Wendy sipped a spoonful of soup. The flavor started with a pleasant saltiness and transitioned to a gentle sweetness. The rich aroma was both smooth and warm, enveloping her entire being. Taking a substantial bite, her eyes slightly reddened and her glasses began to fog up. Remove your glasses, Olivia giggled. She reached over and gently took Wendy's glasses off. Seeing the misty shimmer in her eyes, Olivia found her utterly endearing. Don't you look lovely? Wendy wasn't the sort of girl who would stun people at first glance, yet even without her glasses, she remained truly enchanting. It was a subtle charm, much like Desiree, who possessed a classic elegance. Similarly, Wendy had captivating phoenix eyes. When her gaze was slightly lifted, tears pooling, she seemed akin to a little fox, an amalgamation of innocence and sorrow. "Don't tease me, Liv." Wendy's cheeks tingled with a rosy hue as she lowered her head. She still didn't know her own appearance. She had never been considered a beauty. She was thoroughly ordinary. How could she ever be deemed lovely? "I'm not, I was being serious," Olivia assured her friend sweetly. "Keep eating," Jacob chimed in with a smile. "In this world, a bowl of steaming ramen can work wonders. Besides, it's best when it's piping hot." "Good point." Wendy dove into her meal, devouring it until both the noodles and the broth were gone. The heaviness in her heart was noticeably alleviated. The warmth of the ramen spread from her stomach to her chest, comforting her. "Is it delicious?" Olivia inquired, her smile beaming. "It's delicious." Wendy pursed her lips. "I feel like having another bowl." "Can you really eat more?" Michael raised an eyebrow, a bit surprised by Wendy's hearty appetite. "Always." Wendy pondered for a moment. "I can definitely manage a half bowl more." "I wouldn't mind a little more either," Olivia added. "Could I have another serving, please?" "Of course." Dusty, who had emerged from the kitchen, turned back at Olivia's request and re-entered the kitchen. "Let's each have a bowl," Jacob proposed after some thought. "There's enough to go around." "But we'd end up wasting if we ordered 2 bowls. It's a lot." Olivia grinned. "And we like sharing." Olivia looked at Wendy and smiled. She treasured Wendy deeply. Besides Victoria, Wendy was the person she cared about the most. "Absolutely." Wendy nodded firmly. "We don't mind splitting a bowl between us." Wendy felt that she and Olivia needed to remain close friends for the entirety of their lives, lifelong sisters. The fact that the perfect Olivia was willing to be her friend made her profoundly content. Her godmother Victoria treated her so well, and she dreaded the thought of being separated from Olivia. "Youth is such a blessing," Jacob smiled, glancing at Michael. "We're old now, truly old." "Yes," Michael agreed, letting out a sigh. "At least I pursued my passions in this lifetime, making it all worthwhile." Jacob smiled, his gaze drifting to the shop. Michael remained silent. What were his passions? What had he truly pursued? What did he love? Olivia lifted her head slightly to observe Michael chiming in. "Dad, why don't you find something you're passionate about as well? Look how vibrant Jacob is." This little girl sure knows how to speak her mind. I applaud you." Jacob grinned, pointing at Olivia. "I'll add an extra heart-shaped egg for you." "What does a child like her know?" Michael gazed at Olivia. Those eyes lacked their previous certainty. Olivia met her father's gaze and sensed his wavering. A faint smile formed on her lips. His hesitation was all she needed to see. Once he began to waver, the rest would be easier to manage. "Dad, you've dedicated over half your life to work. Do you think it's been worth it?" Michael's eyes flickered. He found himself involuntarily pondering whether dedicating more than half of his life to work had truly been worthwhile. "One more round of noodles." Dusty placed the steaming bowl of ramen noodles on the table. Michael looked at Olivia without uttering a word. However, his eyes conveyed something he hadn't shown before, a desire to push back. He wanted to push back against the unvarying routine of his life, the monotonous job, and even against his father, Jack. The last thought surprised Michael himself. What was he thinking? He averted his gaze, feeling awkward, and took a sip of water to steady his emotions. What was happening to him? Why did he suddenly wish to oppose his own father? Such a devilish thought. Olivia watched, reading his thoughts, and smiled. "It's working," she thought, stifling a smile. Now she just had to be patient. "This is so incredibly delicious," Wendy said, licking her lips in satisfaction. Dusty, who had just arrived, saw his culinary efforts being appreciated. His lips curved upwards, a satisfied expression on his face. "All right, let's head out once we're done," Michael declared, standing up. "We should get home. How much is the bill?" "No need to worry, my treat," Jacob insisted. Just make it a habit to come by in the future. Oh, come on, take it. You don't have many customers. Michael pulled out a couple of $100 bills and pressed them into Jacob's hand. Seriously, take it? We're leaving. Take care then. Jacob waved his hand. Feel free to drop by whenever you're free. Absolutely, Michael nodded, leaving Jacob with a sense of nostalgia each time he saw him, as though he was reminiscing about the past. Olivia shot a quick glance at Dusty before turning around, but in her haste, she accidentally knocked over the bowl. As the bowl teetered on the edge of falling, Dusty reacted swiftly, stepping forward to catch it, preventing a single drop of soup from spilling. Olivia's eyes sparkled and a smile graced her lips. Impressive skills, Dusty, she remarked, noticing Dusty's slightly awkward expression. With a playful tone, she added, I'll definitely be a frequent visitor. With that, she tugged at Wendy's wrist and followed Michael, who was making his way to the exit. After the trio had left, Dusty turned to his father, his expression somewhat uncertain. Dad, No need to worry. Jacob's demeanor shifted, his smile fading into a serious expression with deep eyes. Olivia isn't an ordinary individual. She probably recognized us from the start. She's just 16 or 17 years old. How could she possibly... Dusty's voice trailed off, a tinge of surprise in his tone. Remember, despite her connection to the Johnson family, there's the Park family backing her. Jacob mused, a faint smirk curving his lips. Exceptional talents arise in every generation. He patted Dusty's shoulder reassuringly. The world will soon belong to your generation. Olivia's no simple figure, especially with the old ghost Park as her grandfather. True, Dusty responded, his expression a mix of emotions. Dad, how much longer must we remain hidden? Jacob's gaze grew contemplative. A while longer. The news of Chef Maria Vincenzo hosting a competition to take on an apprentice had spread like wildfire in the United States, igniting fervent discussions among chefs across the entire country. With only 12 spots available in the competition, the news that the Johnson family of Manhattan had secured 2 spots reverberated throughout New York City's major news outlets. The continuous barrage of news reports propelled the Johnson family into the spotlight. On the day of his arrival in New York City, Chef Maria Vincenzo had therefore paid a personal visit to the Johnson mansion to meet Grandpa Jack. Unfortunately, both Monica and Olivia were still at school and missed the encounter. Monica only learned about the visit when she returned home, secretly vexed that Rachel hadn't informed her earlier. If she had known, she would have taken a leave of absence to ensure she left a positive impression on Chef Maria Vincenzo, enhancing her chances in the competition. Olivia, on the other hand, was not particularly invested in this affair. Her participation in the competition was more driven by her annoyance with Monica's arrogant attitude. The chef recruitment competition was slated for the following day. The day before the competition, Monica diligently practiced at home, and midway through, Bruno returned to provide her with personal guidance, lending her a sense of reassurance. The next morning, Michael personally accompanied both Olivia and Monica to the competition venue. Perhaps seeking to mimic Olivia's style, their outfits for the day, from color to style, were nearly identical. Olivia shot a sidelong glance at Monica, but didn't say a word. Meanwhile, Monica realized her oversight. She should have dressed more elegantly than Olivia today. However, her mind had been preoccupied with speculating about Olivia's choice, causing her to opt for the same attire. Upon arrival at the main venue, security guards were inundated with reporters and photographers. Various announcements rang out, and while Olivia remained silent, Monica enthusiastically waved and smiled, driven by her determination to emerge victorious. The competition had captured people's attention, with live streaming available online, since cooking shows were so popular. Chef Maria Vincenzo was once named one of the top 10 chefs in the entire world. Yet, his generation of culinary masters was aging, and their successors, the rising stars, stood poised to replace them one day. "Chris, my dear," Sven called out while watching the TV. "Olivia's on screen." Vera, holding a plate of freshly washed blueberries, joined Sven. Monica by her side is becoming quite irksome. She's blocking Olivia from the camera's view. Who would want to see Monica, though? True, having such a lovely appearance is advantageous, Sven commented, his gaze fixed on the television. Could you scoot over a bit? Chris too abandoned his computer desk for a spot on the couch. As the trio settled in, the doorbell rang. Who could it be? Sven quipped. Did one of you order takeout? No, the two replied in unison. Perhaps Vera made an online purchase again? Sven queried. No. Vera's eyes remained glued to the television. Sven, you're so exasperating, just be quiet. Sven pursed his lips, feigning hurt. The doorbell continued to ring. Sven, please go and open the door. Vera and Chris both frowned and said simultaneously. Sven protested his innocence, but stood up and approached the door to open it. Who is it? As the door swung open, Sven laid eyes on a smiling, elderly man in a double-breasted suit. The man sported vintage sunglasses and held an eagle-headed cane in his hand. Sven's brain seemed to stall for a moment. Then, before the old man could say a word, he abruptly shut the door. Who was it? Vera inquired curiously. The cultured sound of the door being closed was rather loud. Could it be a door-to-door advertisement? Sven hesitated and then said, Your second granduncle has arrived. He's already here? Chris and Vera responded in unison, rising from their seats. Why was this so sudden? There wasn't even a phone call. How had the old man located them? Quick, open the door, Vera urged. Only then did Sven spring into action, reopening the door. The elderly man was still outside, wearing a forced smile tinged with a hint of displeasure. You mischievous brat. The old man raised his walking stick and playfully tapped Sven's behind. Why'd you slam the door like that all of a sudden? You startled me. Oh, no, Theodore, there's a misunderstanding. Sven's backside stung, and he grinned. Then he explained, I haven't seen you in ages. I got too excited. That's more like it. The old man shot him a glance and entered with a smile. Where's my little Christopher? Granduncle Theodore. Chris's lips twitched. He was already 18, so it felt awkward for his second granduncle to address him as Little Christopher. Hey, Fatty V is here too. The old man pinched Vera's cheeks and remarked, You look just like your older sister. Theodore, hi. Vera's lips twitched a few times. Why did he have to bring up that nickname from her childhood? Back then, the old man would always cook for them, and once they started eating, they couldn't stop. She used to eat so much that she'd vomit. This food was more nutritious, but it had contributed to her round childhood figure, leading everyone to call her Little Fatty V. This humiliating nickname motivated her to shed those extra pounds, and she maintained her slim and proud physique since then. Her childhood baggage, Vera wanted nothing to do with it. Look at you three, are you eating properly? The old man observed them, a frown creasing his brow. Come on, let me cook for you. No. The trio's stomachs seemed to convulse at the very thought. They hurriedly interjected. No, we're not hungry. You three are just like when you were little. You'd always say you weren't hungry, but you'd out-eat everyone. The old man reminisced with a smile. The three were rendered speechless. Of course they wanted to eat his food. Theodore here was one of the oldest, most revered chefs in the world. He was from the generation that taught Mario Vincenzo. How could they turn down his cooking? But after consuming his dishes, they would be so full because he always made so many dishes. Granduncle Theodore. Vera grabbed the old man's arms decisively and said, Come, let's watch TV. This chef Mario Vincenzo is taking on an apprentice. You must watch this closely. That brat is appearing on TV to take on an apprentice? The old man frowned. I'm at a loss for words. Each new generation is more showy than the last. Chef Mario Vincenzo's generation is so extravagant. Not one of them can hold a candle to me. And you don't see me parading around television. Absolutely, you're so right. None of them can match up to you. Sven, too, swiftly caught hold of the old man's arm. Well, let's watch TV anyway first. Tune in. Sven? Chris chimed in hastily. Hurry and order some food. We've got some fantastic pizza in this city. Get one for Theodore, too. Got it. Sven immediately stood up and heard the old man say while engrossed in the TV, I'll take double cheese. After entering the competition venue, Olivia immediately noticed that it was significantly quieter than the bustling outside. The attendees inside consisted solely of a bunch of reporters, the contestants themselves, and the television production that was airing the competition on TV. The atmosphere within the immaculate venue exuded a sense of solemnity. The floor, constructed from ivory marble, supported 12 square tables covered in white cloth, neatly arranged in 2 rows of 6. On the venue's right side, there lay a food selection area stocked with a wide array of fresh ingredients from the sea and land. Olivia glanced around, realizing that she and Monica were likely the youngest participants in the competition. The rest of the attendees, dressed in professional chef attire, appeared to be in their 20s or 30s, presenting a more formal demeanor. After a short while, Chef Mario Vincenzo captured everyone's attention when he made his entrance. He appeared to be in his 50s and donned a meticulously combed white suit, polished Oxford leather shoes, and a medium build. His expression exuded seriousness, and his eyes possessed a sharp, penetrating gaze. Chef Mario Vincenzo was flanked by Olivia's uncle Bruno and her half-brother Edward. Wow, they must be really important in the culinary world, Olivia thought upon seeing them. Observing this, Monica couldn't help but swell with pride. She was well aware of the impressiveness of her uncle and brother. She cast a cold, disdainful glance at Olivia, her eyes oozing arrogance as if to say, Did you witness that? That's my younger brother, Liv. Olivia, however, paid no heed to Monica's disdainful look. Her primary concern was the nature of today's challenge. Regardless of the outcome, she believed that receiving guidance from a renowned chef would prove useless in her mission back home anyway. Meanwhile, Desiree and Wendy anxiously stood before their television. Desiree glanced at Chef Mario Vincenzo's appearance and curled her lips in disdain. How could someone so pompous be deemed her goddaughter's mentor? Nevertheless, she recognized that this presented an opportunity for Olivia to learn. She had even imparted some of her own modified family recipes to Olivia for Liv to use in the competition. Ah! Wendy exclaimed, holding her cheeks with both hands. Liv is so beautiful. She's the most stunning person in the competition. Look at how proud you are, Desiree remarked, shaking her head with a smile. You're a good friend, Wendy. I'm thrilled. Liv is on TV. How exciting. I think Liv is even more attractive than most TV stars, Wendy pouted. Yes, there's no denying that Liv is beautiful. Wendy's heart brimmed with joy as she genuinely wished for Olivia's victory. Today marks Chef Mario Vincenzo's official recruitment competition. I kindly request that all the reporters in attendance turn off their camera flashlights and ensure they remain quiet so as not to disturb the contestants. Thank you for your cooperation, Bruno said. He was the one representing Chef Mario Vincenzo as he hosted the competition, since Mario was known to speak very little except about food. He was dressed in a tuxedo and exuded an air of politeness. His smile was as warm as a spring breeze, and his voice remained calm and composed. His appearance won the admiration of many housewives watching on their televisions at home. Sir, may we commence? Bruno asked Chef Mario. Yes. Chef Mario Vincenzo nodded slightly. Let's begin. Very well then. Bruno stepped forward and announced, The first round of the competition is titled Stewing. The ingredients for this round are all located on the right side of the venue. Contestants may arrange them as they see fit. The time limit is 3 hours. Bruno raised his wrist to check the time on his watch, noting that the minute and second hands both pointed to 12. He declared, Start. Stew. Desiree, watching in front of the TV, was taken aback. Her family recipes that she had given Olivia didn't include any stewed dishes. At this point, it would all come down to Olivia's ingenuity. Nevertheless, Desiree remained confident in Olivia. After all, Olivia had displayed remarkable culinary talent during this period. Upon hearing the competition rules, Monica's lips curled with pride. She had diligently trained for this, and it was Bruno who had taught her the art of stewing. Not a single detail eluded her, and she had mastered all of Bruno's cooking techniques to perfection. She was determined not to lose to anyone in today's competition. "Stewing," Olivia mumbled as she walked slowly towards the contestant area on the right side of the venue. While other contestants scrambled for the best ingredients, Olivia observed quietly. After carefully examining all the ingredients, she nodded, knowing exactly what to do. She stepped forward to select a few ingredients, which had previously been the subject of fierce contention among others. However, by the time it was her turn, the remaining components were less exquisite. Olivia let out a sigh of disappointment. Adhering to the recipes ingrained in her memory, she placed all the required items into her bamboo basket. Some of these had already been snatched by others, prompting Olivia to substitute them with other options. When Olivia returned to her square table with the basket, she received a close-up shot from the cameras because she was the last one to return. Why does her selection look so different from everyone else's? Wendy furrowed her brow. I didn't see such poor ingredients when the camera panned earlier. It's because Liv was too slow. Desiree also expressed mild concern. Speed and observation were crucial skills for a chef, and it seemed Olivia had deliberately started evaluating from the very beginning. Come on, Liv. Wendy nervously clenched her fists. All she could do was silently encourage Olivia. Inside the venue, Olivia diligently washed and sliced all the ingredients. By the time she finished cutting, Monica had already begun preparing the soup base. Monica's adept movements earned nods of approval from many in the room, and the cameraman even captured her extensively. Who wants to see her? Give us some shots of Liv quickly. Vera held a slice of pizza in her hands and furrowed her brow. This girl's no good. Theodore furrowed his brow and shook his head at Monica. Her actions are too robotic. This kind of blind imitation without engaging her brain doesn't suit a chef. Exactly. Vera had witnessed Monica's cooking before while tutoring Olivia at the Johnson mansion. The meticulously measuring repetitive actions and preparing the same dish day in and day out had almost made her sick. She had thought at the time that this person was incredibly peculiar. How could a chef only cook a single dish? Little chubby girl, who is this Liv you're talking about? The elderly man asked curiously. She's that girl, the really beautiful one. Vera pointed to the girl in the corner of the television. She just picked a bunch of subpar ingredients. Just as Vera finished speaking, the television switched to a close-up of Olivia. This girl, Theodore chuckled, this girl has potential. He could tell that this child was genuinely enjoying herself when cooking. Only when one was happy could the food they made truly taste good. Upon hearing this, Chris's thoughts churned. Theodore, maybe you should take her on as your apprentice, Chris suggested. The elderly man smiled and responded, Oh, I'm far too old to take on new apprentices anymore. All of the chefs my age are. The old man waved dismissively and continued watching television. He remarked, Besides, talent like this girl probably won't slip through that old geezer Mariel's fingers. Everything has its order. If this girl becomes his apprentice, I can't possibly snatch her away from him. I'm just an old man, so don't torment me about taking on new apprentices. What a shame, Sven mumbled as he finished the last bite of pizza. Chris's gaze remained fixed on the television. Olivia appeared calm and composed, as if she relished the act of cooking. The faint smile on her lips added to her charm. It seemed that Chef Maria's recruitment competition had captured the attention of the entire country. In a remote country villa in England, a TV also broadcasted the event. Inside, a husky barked excitedly at the TV. It scratched its front paws against the screen urgently. Its voice filled with enthusiasm. Its eyes were locked onto the figure on the TV, and its eyes seemed moist. What's wrong with Betty? The maid responsible for the husky felt a bit uneasy. After hesitating for a moment, she decided to call her boss. She reported the situation concerning Betty.
"It's okay."
The man sighed and glanced at the TV screen in his car.
"I'll return home now."
After hanging up the phone, the man looked at the beautiful figure on the TV and furrowed his brow slightly. It had been so long, but it appeared Betty still hadn't forgotten Olivia. A pang of jealousy welled up from the depths of his heart. On the TV, the girl bore a satisfied expression as she used a spoon to taste her fresh, delicious stew. "Not bad." Olivia nodded in contentment and proceeded with the final steps. 2.5 hours had elapsed by now. Despite her deliberate pace, she still had time. She added the final seasonings, closed the pot's lid, and adjusted the heat to a low flame for a slow simmer. At that moment, Monica had completed all her tasks. She silently counted down in her head, 3, 2, 1. As she reached 1, Monica turned off the flame and raised her hand to signal that she was finished with her stew. "A contestant has completed their dish," Bruno announced. He nodded with satisfaction. He exchanged a glance with Edward, who then approached Monica and personally served 2 bowls. He sampled one himself and handed the other to Chef Mario Vincenzo. "Nice," Chef Mario Vincenzo remarked after tasting it. "The taste is quite good." "Sir, what do you think?" Bruno inquired. "Well," Chef Mario Vincenzo commented, "the soup is fresh and fragrant. It would have been even better if the fire had been turned off 10 seconds later. It's not easy to find such skill in the younger generation." "True," Bruno agreed. He had deliberately provided Monica with a slightly earlier time than expected, knowing that perfection could reveal flaws, especially in front of Chef Mario Vincenzo, the judge. Upon receiving such a high evaluation, Monica couldn't contain her joy. Her cheeks flushed with excitement. She could sense all the cameras aimed at her, so she put on a perfect and composed smile. Monica's heart danced with elation. She had awaited this moment for so long. "Olivia, do your best," Monica softly whispered to Olivia, slightly turning her head. Her voice was hushed, ensuring she wouldn't disturb the other contestants. Yet it was enough for viewers in front of their screens to read her lips. Clearly, she was offering encouragement to her half-sister. In an instant, the internet exploded with praise for the sweet little angel, Monica Johnson, who was a skilled, quick cook and who kindly wanted her sister to do well too. Olivia merely curled her lips and remained silent. Following Monica, the other contestants completed their dishes. After Chef Mario Vincenzo tasted them, he provided evaluations one by one. The praise varied, and none received the same high award as Monica, which delighted her even more. The last to finish was Olivia. Feeling it was time, she turned off the flame and raised her hand. "Now, our final contestant has also completed her dish," Bruno announced to the TV cameras before he signaled to Edward. Edward curled his lips in disdain. What could that despicable person accomplish? Olivia observed as Edward approached her table and directly lifted the stew's lid. The stew's delightful aroma immediately filled the entire venue. Bruno and Chef Mario Vincenzo's eyes lit up. Edward frowned as he served himself a bowl of soup. After tasting it, his expression changed. The flavor was remarkably delicious. He examined the ingredients in Olivia's stew and found them identical to those of the other contestants. Yet the taste, even if he begrudgingly admitted it, he couldn't replicate such a flavor. Even with a recipe, he might struggle to match this taste. An unsettling feeling crept into Edward's heart. Could it be that Olivia was a genius in this field? Impossible. How could this person be better than him? His mind raced. Edward offered another bowl of stew to Chef Mario Vincenzo. Unnoticed by anyone, he discreetly sprinkled a small amount of salt hidden under his nails into the bowl. Seeing the salt dissolve rapidly, Edward curled his lips slightly. This unique salt had initially been prepared primarily for Olivia in Boston. Monica was determined to secure it, so Bruno had enlisted Edward's assistance. Supposedly, he was tasting the stew first to help Chef Mario Vincenzo with his evaluation. However, in reality, Bruno had arranged for him to assist Monica in eliminating formidable competitors. Fortunately, the other dishes had all fallen short of Monica's standards, or so he believed. After Chef Mario Vincenzo tasted the stew, his expression grew complex. The flavor was exquisite, but the excess salt slightly marred the perfection of the dish. Nevertheless, he determined Olivia was indeed a promising talent. If he could mentor and refine her, she could become a remarkable chef. With this in mind, Chef Mario Vincenzo raised his head and inquired in a low voice, "What's her name?" "Who?" Edward muttered inwardly. "The girl in the yellow skirt." Chef Mario Vincenzo clarified. Edward looked at Monica, who was also dressed in yellow. He rolled his eyes and responded, "She is my sister Monica." "Very well." Chef Mario nodded. Soon, after a few more rounds that went the same as the stewing round in the competition, after Edward rigged each judging in favor of Monica, the results were in. Chef Mario chose Monica as his disciple. Upon hearing the outcome, Olivia couldn't fathom how she could lose to a cooking machine, while Monica sported a look of genuine surprise. She had emerged victorious. In fact, when Olivia's dishes were unveiled, she'd been shocked and fearful of losing. But as her name was announced, Monica was overwhelmed with joy. After declaring the winner, Chef Mario Vincenzo exited the venue. The camera swiftly turned their focus on Monica, who waved at them with a triumphant smile. Olivia had not anticipated losing to Monica. She lowered her head and sighed, then proceeded to tidy up the table where she had cooked. Following the crowd, she exited the venue. A reporter seeking to exploit the contrast between the sisters captured her actions. Witnessing Olivia's behavior, the reporter's initial intention of belittling her shifted. "Graceful loser," the title for a news piece flickered through the pop culture reporter's mind, and the outline of a report began to take shape. As they left the venue, Michael approached them and patted Olivia on the shoulder. "You did exceptionally well. I am so proud of you." "Thank you," Olivia replied, curling her lips into a smile. Michael's gestures managed to alleviate some of her despondency. Just as Olivia emerged from the venue, Monica also appeared. As the victor, she received the warmest welcome. A horde of pop culture bloggers converged upon her, their cameras flashing incessantly, as they debated which questions to pose. Reality cooking competitions have been so big recently, and everyone who tuned into this one would want to read about the contestants over the coming days. Monica maintained a smile and graciously answered the inquiries that piqued her interest one by one. "Darn it, something's not right." Sven punched the air back at Chris's penthouse apartment. "How could a beauty lose?" "Exactly, there must be some hidden rule or something." Vera chimed in, frowning as she turned to the elderly man. Theodore had just praised Olivia as a promising talent. How could she lose to Monica? Vera asked with a touch of frustration. "What do you think, second granduncle?" "Me?" The elderly man narrowed his eyes. "I suspect that old man Vincenzo has lost his marbles." A second granduncle. Chris gazed at the lonely figure of Olivia on the television, and then at his elderly relative. "Are you really not bothered by this?" "Yes, how could I not be bothered?" Theodore furrowed his brow. He believed that if he personally mentored her, this young girl would eventually surpass everyone in her skill. There were countless individuals who could cook skillfully, mastering knife techniques, heat control, and ingredient pairing. However, the essence of cooking wasn't solely about techniques, precision, or research. It was about genuine enjoyment. This young girl relished the cooking process wholeheartedly. The elderly man could sense that she possessed the same essence he had cherished. She wasn't fixated on technique or research. She simply reveled in the experience. People these days are excessively pragmatic. For such individuals, reaching the pinnacle of culinary skills often proved elusive. Paradoxically, those who harbored no ambitions, those who didn't even consider cooking a lifelong pursuit, were the ones who effortlessly surpassed themselves and grasped the true essence of cooking. In the realm of cooking, Once ingredients were selected, sliced and placed in a pot with heated oil and added water, followed by seasonings, the process remained the same. What truly mattered was the heart behind it, and this young girl, Theodore, saw that heart. "What are you waiting for? Ask her to be your apprentice," Chris urged. "If Chef Mario Vincenzo wakes up, it will be too late." "Hey, don't rush me. Let me consider. Think it through." Theodore hesitated. "Theodore, after this opportunity passes, it may not come again." Sven interjected when he noticed the situation. This so-called amazing Chef Mario Vincenzo was hardly worth Olivia's attention. If she intended to actually learn from a true master, she should seek out one of the original true greats, like Theodore. He taught people like Chef Mario everything they knew after all. "Chris is right, Theodore. Liv possesses both character and talent," Vera added. "Why the hesitation?" "Give me a moment, I need to think." Theodore grappled with his decision. It was such a remarkable talent. "You take your time," Chris said. Seeing the old man's hesitation, he realized there was something he could try. Under his breath, he muttered, "Olivia, I'm doing my best to help you. You should seize this opportunity." Meanwhile, in Michael's car, Olivia gazed out the window at Monica, still smiling during her interviews. Liv couldn't fathom why she had lost. It didn't make sense, but she decided to let it go. Perhaps her skills simply weren't as good as the others. Olivia sighed and leaned her head against the car seat, taking a moment to rest. Elsewhere, however, it wasn't only Theodore Jones who was moved by Olivia's performance. There was someone else watching the television who was similarly stirred. "This Mario Vincenzo guy's getting more and more muddled with age. He even missed such a remarkable talent," remarked an elderly lady in her 60s. Her coiled hair was adorned with an elegant star-shaped brocade. She reached for a white porcelain teacup in front of her and turned to the person beside her. "Rory, what do you think?" Chef Rory Chang furrowed his brow slightly, doubt flickering in his eyes. "I find her technique rather familiar." "Now that you mention it." The elderly lady paused, her hand hesitating. The elderly lady was named Chef Carol Zarin. "This girl's cooking reminds me of so many other people's." "Yes," Chef Chang mused, his brow furrowing. "Let's not discuss this further. I should be going." "Why are you leaving?" The elderly lady was taken aback and stood up. "You've only been here for 2 days. We haven't had a proper catch-up session." "I'm heading to New York City," Chef Chang replied with a feeling that he might find his daughter this time. New York City? Chef Zarin glanced at the TV, clenched her teeth, and said, "Wait, I'll go with you." "What are you planning?" Chef Chang was perplexed. "I think that girl who lost has a keen eye," Chef Carol Zarin retorted. "Mario Vincenzo has grown senile. When it comes to identifying talents, my eyes are sharper." She snorted and playfully pulled on her earlobe. "I want this girl as my apprentice." "What if I want her as my apprentice?" Chef Chang furrowed his brow. "Nonsense." Chef Carol Zarin scoffed, rolling her eyes. "Maybe you'll go to the city and find your daughter. And maybe your daughter has a child, and if so, then you'll surely teach that child how to cook. So let me have this Olivia girl." Chef Chang paused, recognizing the possibilities. If he did have a grandson or granddaughter, it might be a perfect chance to pass on his legacy. All his former apprentices had established their own families. If he were to select a successor from his own mentees, he might find a satisfactory one. However, he had spent all these years searching for his daughter. He had missed the prime opportunity. "In any case," Chef Carol Zarin shrugged, "I like this girl and I'm taking her on as an apprentice if she'd like to work with me." She extended her slender index finger and pointed at Chef Chang. "Anyone who wants to challenge me can try." She smiled mischievously. "No one's challenging you," Chef Chang remarked with a frown. "Decades have passed, yet your arrogant and domineering personality hasn't changed one bit." "It's all thanks to your 3 brothers," Chef Carol Zarin muttered in a low voice. Although she and her generation's best chefs weren't biological siblings, their relationship resembled that of close kin. What made it exceptional was their mutual appreciation and respect for each other's culinary skills. Each of the great chefs specialized in different culinary domains. Their preeminent leader, Theodore Jones, was known for European cuisine. The second of the great chefs, Franco Alva, specialized in seafood, while divine Chef Chang focused on Asian cuisine, and Chef Carol Zarin's expertise lay in grains, meats, and farm-to-table. Although they had planned to travel to New York City together, they found that due to inclement weather, all flights were grounded for the next 3 days. This left the two of them in a state of bewilderment, forced to bide their time. Meanwhile, in New York City, Michael brought his 2 daughters back to the family mansion. As they disembarked from the car, Monica halted in front of Olivia. "Liv, it must have been quite an ordeal for you to compete with me in today's competition," Monica declared, lifting her chin with an air of arrogance. "Especially since today I, Monica, am the star." "It wasn't an ordeal," Olivia replied, casting a glance at Monica. "But are you tired of copying others? Even if you win, it'll be a victory achieved with my approach. Monica, such a meaningless victory. Cherish it." Observing Monica's increasingly displeased expression, Olivia smiled and continued, "Sometimes I genuinely admire you. I mean, being able to be as proud as you are while being as ridiculous as you are, that is a talent. It's like being excited to be basic." Monica clenched her teeth, her eyes filled with fury. It appeared that imitating Olivia had become a habit for her. Regardless of her actions, her first thought was always, what would Olivia do? This kind of thinking constrained her actions and even began to influence her thoughts. You only won because you were doing what Olivia would do, Monica thought, and that thought was a thorn that deeply pierced Monica's heart. Observing Monica's thoughts and the subsequent shift in Monica's expression, Olivia smiled and walked past her, entering the Johnson family mansion. She anticipated what would transpire in the living room, but decided to disregard it. She still couldn't fathom how she had lost. Olivia stretched out on the bed. The comfortable mattress and soft blanket instantly eased her senses, and she closed her eyes, ready to take a nap. However, just as she was on the verge of drifting into slumber, her phone rang, abruptly waking her. She groggily reached for the phone and answered it with a casual, "Hello?"
"Hey,"
Frances said.
"I saw the TV. Don't worry, winning and losing are part of the game. You're still the best in my eyes."
"Thank you," Olivia replied, touched.
"And I have good news for you. The game we created caught an investor's attention when it was showcased at that video game creating contest I think I told you about. We also advanced to the next round. We got a slot in the finals along with an advance reward of $50,000 to keep creating our game. And the game is already generating income through downloads and in-app purchases."
Olivia's eyes widened.
"We're making 6 figures in weekly sales for the game,"
Frances replied with evident excitement. "Since we're making money, why don't we give everyone a share of these profits now, so some of our friends can make back their initial investments?" Olivia inquired.
"Sure,"
Frances agreed.
"How much per person?"
Olivia pondered briefly before asking, "What's the cost of renting a well-located space in New York City for a private restaurant?"
"For a smaller one, I'd guess around $10,000 to $20,000 a month should suffice,"
Frances estimated. "Then each person will receive $60,000, Olivia decided. Wendy had been feeling rather down lately, especially regarding her wish to open a restaurant with her mom Desiree. So Olivia wanted to give her some funds to help her put away to open the restaurant sooner rather than later. This way, Wendy would have something of her own to look forward to.
"Sounds good,"
Frances confirmed.
"I'll discuss this with Millie, who's managing the funds."
"All right," Olivia said after a moment's thought. "And if we pay out the profits now, we might not have enough funds at the moment to continue with all our operating costs, so I'll contribute additional funds."
"I'll do the same,"
Frances declared. With the game's remarkable success, borrowing another large sum from his father wouldn't be a problem. "Agreed. It's settled then," Olivia concluded before ending the call. She intended to share this great news with Wendy, who had been going through a tough time lately. It had been a hectic period, and she hadn't been attentive to Wendy. Furthermore, Wendy had faced some challenges. She hadn't seen her interact with Steve Shook either, and it appeared they were avoiding each other, harboring a mutual dislike. Now that the chef's recruitment competition had concluded, it was an opportunity for Olivia to have a heart-to-heart with Wendy. But Olivia's phone rang before she could even dial her number. Olivia's lips curled into a smile when she saw it was Wendy. "Hey," Wendy said as soon as she picked up. "Let's go eat ramen." She was grateful that Wendy wanted to treat her to ramen, remembering how the warm noodles had comforted her during a difficult moment. Olivia agreed. "All right, let's go back to that place we went before with my dad. Or is that too pricey?" "No, it's fine," Wendy responded determinedly through the phone. She didn't mind spending a bit more if it would make Olivia feel better after her defeat in the competition. "All right," Olivia said. "So what time should we meet?" "Anytime works," Wendy replied. "I have no other plans today." Her words stumbled a bit, but she was determined to be there for Olivia. "In that case," Olivia checked the time and suggested, "let's say 6 o'clock. I'll come to your place to pick you up." "Okay," Wendy agreed with a nod. "Phew," Olivia sighed, exhaling deeply. She pushed her worries aside in one breath. She had received good news from Francis and a comforting call from Wendy. Olivia felt that the competition's outcome was no longer the most important thing. She had people who cared about her. After she was contemplating this, a dozen or so messages flooded in, all from concerned classmates. Sam Feinstein even sent a humorous selfie to lift her spirits. As Olivia looked at Sam's silly photos, she burst into laughter. Shortly after, she received a video call from Millie, and they chatted for a while before ending the call when they ran out of things to say. As the time neared to contact her driver, Morris Brad, Olivia grabbed her backpack and was about to leave. However, when she checked the contents, she realized her wallet was missing. In the process of searching for it, she stumbled upon the concealed gun she kept in her drawer. With a slight frown, Olivia strapped the gun to her thigh. Monica's success today might make her a bit reckless, and it was better to be cautious. Guns were prohibited in her house, so it was safer to carry them on her person. After arranging her skirt, Olivia left her room. As she descended the stairs, she could hear boisterous laughter coming from the living room. Both Bruno and Edward had returned to celebrate Monica's victory. Rachel was still glued to Monica, treating her like a treasure. However, as soon as Olivia entered the living room with her bag, the laughter abruptly ceased. "Liv, your sister has achieved such a big accomplishment this time. Don't you have a few words of congratulations?" Rachel asked provocatively. "Congratulations," Olivia replied curtly and turned to leave. "Wait a moment," Monica called after Olivia. "Liv, our family is going to the Grand Imperial Hotel to celebrate later. Our grandfather has invited many guests. Won't you join us and experience the grandeur?" Of course, she was implying that Olivia should be grateful for the invitation. "No," Olivia waved her hand dismissively. "I'm not interested. I have work to do. You can go ahead." She had plans to enjoy ramen with Wendy. She glanced at her father, Michael, who was sitting on the sofa, and added with a smile, "Wendy is treating me to ramen." Hearing this, Michael understood her intentions and nodded, saying, "Go ahead and enjoy yourselves." "Okay," Olivia agreed and swiftly made her way out of the house. Now that her father had given her blessing, no one could stop her. As they watched Olivia leave, Edward clenched his fists in anger. How shameless could Olivia be? She had clearly lost, yet she could still smile and go out for ramen. Shouldn't she be hiding in her room, drowning in guilt or shame? After leaving her family's mansion, Olivia got into Morris Brad's car to pick up Wendy. During the ride, Morris tried to offer some comforting words, to which Olivia responded with a smile. Olivia's resilience earned a silent thumbs up from Morris. Upon picking up Wendy, Olivia instructed Morris to park the car in the same spot Michael had taken the girls a few days earlier. They then proceeded to search for the ramen shop they had stopped by before. Finding the noodle shop was a breeze and its lights were still on. Olivia and Wendy exchanged smiles, holding hands as they approached. Just as they were about to reach the shop, A gunshot suddenly rang out, making Olivia's heart skip a beat. The sound was all too familiar. Olivia frowned and turned to Wendy, saying, "Wendy, wait here. If you sense anything is wrong, run, okay?" "What's happening?" Wendy asked, her voice trembling. "Did you hear gunshots? What's going on?" "Don't ask questions, just listen to me," Olivia said, gently rubbing Wendy's head. She continued, "Stay safe, I'll go check it out." She carefully proceeded toward the noodle shop. The owner of the shop was a good friend of her father's, and she couldn't bear the thought of something bad happening. As she approached the half-closed door, her heart sank when she caught sight of bloodstains everywhere. Her gaze followed the trail of blood, revealing several lifeless bodies. Then another gunshot echoed. A person fell before her eyes, gasping for breath. Blood poured from a chest wound, and he seemed to want to say something, but died before he could utter a word. Olivia bit her lip, trying to hold back the overwhelming emotion. "Jacob," she whispered, realizing that he was the shop owner, the same one who had been jovial with her just days before. Witnessing someone she knew die in front of her was an excruciating experience. Save my son," he whispered. Olivia saw the movements of Jacob's lips and nodded in response. But how could she save him? She had no idea how many people were inside. She retreated a few steps silently, changing her angle to get a better view of the situation. This time, she saw only two individuals who were still alive. One was a man in a black suit, holding a gun to Dusty's temple. Dusty, in shock, stared at his father's lifeless body, still unable to comprehend his sudden loss. "Dusty, your father was a sharpshooter, but he chose the wrong side," the assassin said. "We already agreed to withdraw. Why won't you let us go?" Dusty's eyes burned with anger. They had hidden in this secluded place. Wasn't that enough? "I'm sorry, but I'm just following orders," the assassin replied apologetically. "I'll reunite you with your father now." Dusty clenched his fists, his eyes still locked on his father's corpse. Why had this happened? What had he done wrong? He thought. Why are we suffering this fate? He couldn't accept it. He refused to accept it. Dusty held his breath, anticipating that the gun pressed against his temple would blow his head off. To his astonishment, though, it was the assailant who collapsed instead. "Oh God," Olivia exhaled, relieved that her less than stellar marksmanship hadn't caused her to stumble. Surprisingly, the silencer on her gun had proven effective, and the final bullet had been spent. She had thought to use her powers, but she didn't want to hurt Dusty, and she figured, with very little time to think or plan, that she had a better chance sparing Dusty's life with a single bullet than her powers, which she hadn't been working on for some time. Dusty, still in shock, stared at the person before him who had just saved his life, holding a gun in both hands. The hitman, although injured, wasn't dead. With one hand clutching his abdomen, he attempted to aim his gun at Olivia. He seemed determined to take someone down with him, even in death. Dusty suddenly regained his composure. He seized the assassin's gun and fired 3 shots into the man's heart. Even after expending all the bullets, he kept pulling the trigger, creating several more clicking sounds. Olivia winced at the deafening gunshots. She realized her earlier lapse in judgment. Her shooting had been subpar, resulting in the assassin's painful, protracted demise. After ensuring there was no more immediate threat, Olivia approached Jacob and crouched down beside him. She gently closed his lifeless eyes with her palm. "Jacob, I saved Dusty. You can rest in peace now." Dad! Dad! Dusty walked toward his father's lifeless body, his steps heavy. "Dad!" A flood of precious childhood memories flashed before his eyes. Dusty knelt beside the lifeless body, his hands resting on the ground on either side of it, as he bowed deeply. "I'm so sorry," Olivia murmured, realizing there were no words she could offer to truly comfort him. Such a traumatic experience defied any outsider's attempts at solace. "Ah!" A scream pierced the air from behind Olivia. She swiftly turned, her hand still clutching the silver gun that she hadn't had time to stow away. "Wendy!" Olivia called out. Wendy had been worried that Olivia might follow and witness something horrifying, but she never expected the scene that would greet her. Her legs gave way, and she crumbled to the ground in shock, her eyes locked on the gruesome sight before her. "Wendy, don't be afraid." Olivia hurriedly approached her. "Ah!" Wendy cried out, cowering behind Olivia, her eyes wide, fixed on the gun. "Liv, you—" "Don't be afraid." Olivia discreetly concealed the gun under her skirt. "Liv, did you kill someone?" Wendy's voice trembled. Though she hadn't seen it, the sound she'd heard left her little doubt. Her eyes filled with fear and concern. The idea of someone taking another person's life was horrifying and surreal to her, something she never imagined would be a part of her life. It was the sort of thing she associated with news reports and movies, not a reality she had to face. "No." Olivia shook her head. "My shooting skills aren't good enough to kill someone." She reached out and drew Wendy into a comforting embrace. "Don't worry, you're safe with me." Wendy hesitated for a moment before hugging Olivia back. The shocking scene had rattled her to the core. "Let's stand up first." Olivia gently helped Wendy to her feet and guided her outside. "Wait here for me. There are some things I need to take care of." "Please be careful." Wendy watched Olivia with worry. She didn't want Olivia to go back into that house filled with death, but she understood that Olivia was different. Wendy knew she couldn't help, and the best she could do was not be a burden. She obediently stood by, waiting for Olivia to finish dealing with the situation. Olivia returned to the noodle shop and questioned Dusty. "Who did this?" Dusty slowly raised his head to meet Olivia's gaze. He hesitated for a moment before uttering 2 words. "I think they're Franco Alva's men." Olivia couldn't be sure, but she thought she may have heard Vera or Chris mention that name before. Maybe she had read their thoughts and heard it that way. She wasn't sure, but she took out her phone and dialed Chris's number. "Chris, hi, it's me."
Liv!
Chris's voice held a surprise. He had some good news to share, but he couldn't get a word in before she interrupted. "Chris." Olivia cut him off and relayed the noodle shop's address. "There are multiple casualties where I am. Can you come help with the situation?" She added, "In return, I have something I think you'll want."
All right.
After hanging up the phone, Chris instructed Sven to gather a team and set out immediately. Chris and his men were quick. In less than half an hour, they had handled everything and cleaned up the ramen shop so that it looked like a simple robbery gone wrong. They would handle the assassination attempt themselves, they decided, without the police getting involved. Police had a habit of getting in the way of revenge anyway. "Their guns didn't have silencers," Olivia remarked. "I'm concerned there might be follow-up issues." "No worries, leave it to me," Chris assured her, giving her head a friendly pat. "All right." Olivia led Chris to meet Dusty. "Chris, this is Dusty. Jacob, the owner of this restaurant, was Dusty's father," Olivia explained, momentarily pausing. "He was just caught up in an unfortunate incident. It seems someone was after him, and that someone was sent by a man named Franco Alva." Chris's eyes flashed with disgust. It was clear the name meant something to him. "Chris, Dusty is a remarkable individual," Olivia remarked, a wry smile on her lips. "I've brought him to you. It'll be up to you from here." With Dusty's cooperation, Chris could have a potential ally. Afterward, Olivia turned to Dusty. "Dusty, if you seek retribution, follow Chris. He'll assist you." There was plenty she didn't understand about Chris, but one thing she knew for sure was that he knew how to look after people, especially if they had a common enemy. With that said, Olivia exited the ramen shop. This place held cherished memories for her, especially the day she'd heard a wise stranger say, "In this world, there's nothing sorrowful that can't be eased with a hot bowl of noodles." But now, Olivia couldn't fathom why this father and son duo was relentlessly pursued. What fate awaited Dusty in this merciless world? In this unforgiving reality, fleeing was futile. Olivia's and Dusty's only recourse was to confront their enemies head-on and fight with unwavering determination. Only by taking on gods and demons alike could Liv hope to protect those she held dear. "I'm ready to fight for those who try to hurt me and those I love," she thought. Observing Wendy still huddled at the store's entrance, Olivia approached her. "Wendy, it's over now. Let's go," she said, coldly, determined. "Okay," Wendy nodded. Her complexion still paled. Witnessing such a gruesome scene for the first time was bound to leave her shaken. She rose to her feet, gripping Olivia's hand tightly, wanting to speak but uncertain of where to begin. "It's going to be okay," Olivia reassured her, sensing the worry in Wendy's eyes. She offered a smile. "Let's go. I'll take you to get something to eat." They had just witnessed such horrors within that room. How could they even think about eating? Wendy thought. She was slightly unsettled by her friend's cool exterior. How could Olivia seem so unbothered by what had just happened? "You can join me," Olivia suggested with a smile. "I can't let something like this affect my appetite. There will be many more such challenges ahead of us." A flicker crossed Olivia's eyes, but Wendy wasn't sure if it was fear or excitement. "Let's eat," Liv said resolutely. "We need to be prepared for what's to come." A chill went down Wendy's spine. Wendy had truly lost her appetite for dinner. She managed only a few bites before Olivia decided to accompany her home. Liv walked Wendy to her doorstep, exchanged a few reassuring words, and then entered the elevator. As the elevator doors began to close, Olivia spotted Wendy rushing over, frantically trying to pry the doors open with her hands. Panic filled her eyes and her lips quivered, as if she had something urgent to convey. Olivia sensed that Wendy was still deeply frightened. Today's events had indeed been terrifying, and witnessing such violence for the first time would unnerve anyone. It was perfectly natural. Olivia couldn't help but recall her own initial fear when she had first entered a gunfight. At that time, she had been terrified of herself. "Liv," Wendy's trembling lips barely formed words. "Promise me you'll be okay. Promise me you're okay, and you're not getting into anything bad." Olivia was taken aback, her gaze fixed on Wendy's concerned eyes. She smiled faintly and nodded firmly. "Don't worry, Wendy. I'm going to be more than okay." She would not just survive and be okay. She would thrive. She would live better than anyone else, and she was determined to witness the world she despised crumble before her eyes. Seeing Wendy's lingering worry, Olivia continued, "Remember our plan? You, me, and Millie are going on vacation together during the summer break, and you're going to live happily ever after." "Yes," Wendy nodded, and then stepped back. She watched as the elevator doors slowly closed. "Well, a plan is a plan, and I won't let anything get in the way of that," Olivia said just before they fully closed. She smiled and continued on her way. Liv returned to the Johnson mansion about an hour later. Originally, she had planned to enjoy a ramen meal with Wendy after her competition loss, but fate had certainly thrown them a curveball. Because Wendy was still recovering from the shock and remained silent throughout the evening, Olivia had forgotten to inform her about the money they'd earned for their game. "I'm back," Olivia greeted her father, Michael, who sat on the sofa. Michael hadn't removed his suit yet, suggesting he had recently returned from a dinner engagement. "Dad, where is everyone?" Given Monica and Rachel's typical behavior, they would have been sitting on the sofa, eagerly awaiting her return to boast about their day. "They haven't returned yet from their party at the hotel. I have a headache, so I came back early," Michael replied with a forced smile as he greeted Olivia. "I see," Olivia nodded, understanding the situation. The limelight today had been on Monica and Bruno, rendering Michael something of an afterthought. Without further words, Olivia approached the sofa and gently massaged her father's temples with her fingers. "Feeling better?" "Much better," Michael sighed in relief. Then he suggested, "Liv, how was your dinner with Wendy? What'd you order from Jacob's place? I heard you went for ramen. I'd like to go back too. I'll take you there the next time I get off early, and I'll have Jacob personally prepare the meal because he's the best." "Dad?" Olivia's fingers halted as she interrupted Michael's words. She didn't know how to phrase it, how to convey the grim reality that his friend had just died at the hands of an assassin right in front of her. She simply didn't know what to say. What's bothering you? Michael couldn't help but be curious about Olivia's hesitation. Is something wrong? Did you not have a good time with Wendy? No, Olivia replied, taking a deep breath. She decided it was time to gently break the news to her father. Liv. At that moment, Chris entered the mansion. Chris? Olivia was taken aback, and Michael stood up. Mr. Johnson, if it's all right, I need to have a word with Liv. Chris nodded to Michael and signaled Olivia to follow him. Liv, come with me. All right. Olivia agreed and followed Chris out of the mansion. She wondered why he needed to speak to her at this time. Shouldn't Chris be with Dusty? Once outside, Olivia saw Sven's sapphire blue sports car parked there. Sven waved to her from the driver's seat, and Dusty, dressed in all white, stood nearby. Liv, Dusty wants to stay with you for now that his father's gone, Chris said to Olivia. Chris seemed to understand that if Dusty was near Olivia, he could protect her, which put Chris at ease. Chris had investigated Franco Alva today after Olivia mentioned the name, and he found that Alva had in fact dispatched assassins to take care of Jacob and Dusty. It was remarkable that this father and son had held their ground so well without any preparation, and that only one was successfully killed. But Chris wanted to find out more about why they had been targeted. Olivia was momentarily surprised before she approached Dusty. She asked, Dusty, are you sure about wanting to stay with me? I am, Dusty nodded. Your father was like a brother to my dad, and you saved my life, so I will save yours should you ever need it. He recalled his father Jacob's last words before his death. There was something exceptional about Olivia, and despite Chris's immense capabilities, Dusty had a strong sense that Olivia's future accomplishments would be equally remarkable, if not greater. It was a gut feeling. If you wish for vengeance, staying by Chris is your best option, Olivia stated frankly. However, Dusty's words today touched her heart, and she hoped to have his assistance. It was assistance that would be dedicated to her cause. I know, Dusty nodded, gazing earnestly at Olivia. But I trust your family, and I feel more comfortable staying with you for now if that's okay. Very well, Olivia said to Dusty after contemplating the matter. My father is inside the house right now. Can you inform him about your dad? They were best friends, and I can't bear to tell him. I will, Dusty said solemnly, and made his way toward the mansion. Liv, I'll pick you up tomorrow night, Chris said, his voice tinged with mystery. You owe me one favor. What kind of favor do you want me to fulfill? Olivia felt like she'd become a genie's lamp for Chris, always granting him new wishes. I have an older family member visiting the city who is keen on your cooking after seeing you on television, Chris said with a cryptic smile. I'd like you to prepare some dishes for him tomorrow. It's very important to me. Fine, Olivia said. This favor, after all, seemed harmless enough. Cooking for an old guy? Why not? Liv shrugged as Chris got back into his car. Watching the sapphire blue sports car receding into the distance, Olivia let out a sigh. It appeared that she needed to prepare an exceptional meal tomorrow and to consider the old man's food preferences. With these thoughts in mind, she headed back to her mansion. Upon entering, she found Dusty standing near the sofa, while Michael lay on it with an incredulous expression. Just a few days ago, they had been joking like good friends, so it was shocking to see such an unexpected turn of events. The police reported that someone entered the shop with a gun and robbed us, Dusty explained, his head slightly lowered. I haven't gone out to restock the store, or else— Dusty, this is all fate, Michael sighed, standing up and patting Dusty on the shoulder. You can stay with us and consider this your home while your father's affairs are settled if you'd like. Dad, which room should Dusty sleep in? Olivia inquired as she approached Michael. I'll have the maids prepare it. The guest room on the left on the second floor, Michael recalled and replied after some thought. All right, Olivia nodded and arranged for the maid to clean the room. She had a reasonable recollection of that room. It wasn't very large, but it had good sunlight and lighting, lacking the humidity of Olivia's room. It was a decent choice. Mr. Johnson, don't be too disheartened, Dusty comforted him. My father used to say that he dreamt of opening his own Japanese restaurant and becoming a chef like the one in Midnight Dining Hall back in college. At least he realized his dream. Yes, Olivia chimed in. The last time I saw Jacob, he also said that his life wasn't lived in vain. I take solace in that. Michael sighed and looked at Dusty and Olivia. I should head back to the study. Liv, you show Dusty around the house. Of course. Olivia nodded. Michael sighed and ascended the stairs to his study. Dusty, let me give you a tour, Olivia said, leading the way as she pointed out each room in the house. When they reached her bedroom, she opened the door and said, This is my bedroom. We're neighbors, so to speak. I see, Dusty replied. Facing away from Dusty, Olivia spoke softly. Dusty, I lack the background and power of Chris Jones. Every day I'm practically making things harder for myself, because it seems ever since I moved here, there are countless people who want me dead. Her voice maintained its gentle and steady tone. Dusty silently watched Olivia as she spoke these words. She read his thoughts and said, It will take a long time to reach the heights you're imagining I could reach, so while I understand that you want to stay by my side to make sure I'm safe, I don't know if it'll be that worthwhile for you just yet. It might be more of a risk than a reward. Are you truly prepared for this? This was her final inquiry to Dusty. She didn't want to hold anyone back and had her own path to tread and goals to attain, all of which required time. I'm aware, Dusty replied with determination. That's good, Olivia said, turning around to face him. The maid should have finished cleaning your room. Let's go take a look. All right, Dusty nodded. Olivia closed her bedroom door and led Dusty to his room. As they entered, a maid finished tidying up and nodded at both of them before departing. Dusty stepped into the room, recognizing it as his new place of residence. If you need anything, let me know. I'm going to see my father. He must be devastated, Olivia said, patting Dusty's arm before heading to Michael's study. She knocked on the door. Come in. Michael's voice came from within. Pushing the door open, Olivia found Michael turned away, wiping tears from the corners of his eyes. On the desk in front of him lay a photograph. As Olivia approached, she could see it was a picture of Michael with his band from back in the day. He looked young and unassuming, quite different from his current mature and composed self. The shorter guy beside him had an arm draped over his shoulder, creating a playful contrast. In the blink of an eye, so many years have passed, Michael sighed. Dad. Olivia walked to his side, resting her arm on his shoulder. I'm sorry. Thank you. He patted Olivia's shoulder, then continued. Your Uncle Jacob might not be reliable, impulsive in his actions and thoughtless, but he's more meticulous than anyone else. Yes. Olivia listened attentively. All right, Michael sighed. At least he lived doing what he loved. Michael's gaze shifted slightly, contemplating what would have happened if it were him who had passed away. He lowered his head, peering at the photograph on the table. What if it were me? Dad, don't talk like that. Olivia scolded him, her brow furrowed. I know, I won't. Michael looked at Olivia, then at the photograph. Liv, do you think it's too late for me to pursue my dream now? It's never too late. Olivia's eyes brightened. Is that so? Michael seemed genuinely moved. Dad, you have to believe in yourself, Olivia said, holding his hand excitedly. After all this time, she had finally convinced him. No matter your age, as long as you have a dream, you must pursue it. Liv, how's your game project progressing? Michael asked, his gaze fixed on her. It's going really well. Olivia smiled and nodded. Our game is in a contest right now where the winner gets a bunch of money to help take their business to the next level and make more investment money. Not only have we reached the finals, but we're also making 6 figures per week. She looked at him, her beautiful eyes shimmering. Dad, would you be interested in investing? She didn't really need her father's investment, but she was hoping to get her father to transfer a large portion of his money into her company's account so she could keep it safe from his brother Bruno before he took more money from Michael's company. She wanted to make sure Michael still had money after Bruno bled Johnson's food dry. Investment? Michael considered this proposal, intrigued by the idea. Yeah, Olivia confirmed. Right now, I've invested nearly $1 million in the game studio. Francis put in the same, and Steve Shook invested a lot too. However, most of the money had already gone into the game development. You invested nearly $1 million? Michael looked at Olivia in surprise. Liv, where did you get $1 million? Olivia hesitated. How could she explain her source of funds? Was she going to say she exchanged stolen weapons for money? Olivia rolled her eyes and replied, Well, do you remember that guy that came and took me away earlier and left me a box of gold bars? She couldn't help but admire herself for thinking on her feet. Oh, Michael nodded. In that case, I'll give you $2 million to further invest. $2 million? Olivia was about to accept when she hesitated. Michael still had his own wealth within the Johnson family, but if things continued the way they were going, Bruno would drain all the company's assets. Eventually, Michael would be left with a mere shell filled with debts. Olivia definitely didn't want to see that outcome. She thought it might be better to slowly withdraw Michael's money bit by bit and work toward a solution over time. Dad, making games is much more expensive than you think. Olivia started to sound worried. We currently have only enough funds for creating simple single-player games. To expand and develop further, expenses will grow considerably. Right now, it's already challenging for us to finance the next steps. We can't secure enough funds. Olivia observed Michael's expression as she continued, Why don't you help me raise the funds? How about $10 million? $10 million? That's a substantial amount. Michael looked at Olivia. The sum of money was trivial to him, but handing it over to a high school student, Michael was worried that Olivia wouldn't be able to resist the temptations of the world. Actually, $10 million is only enough for us to complete the basic development of this single-player game, Olivia explained, her eyes shining with enthusiasm. She led Michael back to her room, intending to show him their game. Dad, you'll understand when I show you our game. Olivia guided Michael to her room and seated him in front of the computer. Turning on the computer, the system recognized that someone other than Olivia was using it, so it switched to the virtual computer system. Olivia navigated the game's contest official website and found their game. The game had gained considerable popularity in the contest, as Francis had mentioned. The creative team used numerous strategies to boost its visibility. The game even received a front-page banner recommendation from the official website. Clicking on it, Olivia explained the game's details to Michael. Dad, have a look. Our game currently has 7 levels, and you've seen the messages. We've garnered a lot of attention, and many players are eagerly awaiting the release of the next levels. How many levels do you plan to create? Michael inquired. Well, Olivia replied, this part of the story will conclude after 10 levels, but it will feature a completely open ending. The outcomes depend on the players' reactions. If they really enjoy the game and there's a market for it, we'll release a sequel. The second game will be our flagship mobile game, not a single player like this. A mobile game? Michael glanced at Olivia. Then what is this game about? In essence, this game serves as a test for us, Olivia explained. We plan to make a series of subsequent games in the same characters as part of a marketing strategy, to build, brand loyalty. That sounds like a good idea, Michael nodded. Such marketing strategies were quite common in the business world. But we need strong financial support, Olivia stated. I'm not considering financing at the moment. One reason is that the company hasn't been formally established yet, she clarified, mostly because we're all still high school students. Our studies obviously remain our top priority. The primary reason for her decision was that Olivia, along with her other team members, were still minors. She didn't want to burden anyone else with the responsibilities of being the company's legal representative. Yes, Michael agreed. Education should always come first. That's correct. Hence, we're facing a financial challenge right now. Olivia placed her hand on Michael's shoulder and continued. So, Dad, would you be willing to invest for now?
I can't promise huge returns, but I believe we will have year-end dividends." "Ha ha ha," Michael chuckled, finding it amusing when his daughter suggested giving him a year-end bonus. "All right, send your company's bank account details to Ansel Parr. Tomorrow, I'll have him contact you about it." "Thank you, Dad." Olivia expressed her gratitude enthusiastically. This was just the beginning. She needed to move quickly, transferring as much as she could to prevent Michael from losing everything. While Grandpa Jack and Bruno could do as they pleased, she only needed to keep an eye on her father's assets. Olivia's joyful expression brought a smile to Michael's face. His current situation at work was uncertain, and if he could save some money for Olivia, it would be good, he figured. If the circumstances he hoped to avoid truly unfolded, he wouldn't want to see Olivia and Victoria living a difficult life again. While Victoria's family was still around, he couldn't rely on help from afar. He didn't know whether they would return to the U.S. or not, so he had to be prepared. With sufficient funds in hand, Olivia contacted Francis that night and asked him to continue monitoring the game's progress. Francis was ecstatic when he learned that another big investment would be available for further development. Originally, they had only managed to complete the 7th level due to funding constraints. Wendy's script, in fact, extended to the 10th level. With this additional funding, they could actually finish the game. Francis was even more excited than Olivia. He had a deep appreciation for the final ending in Wendy's conception of the game. He believed that once the game was completed, it would captivate players. In the world of games, reputation is often more important than marketing. The following day, Olivia prepared the menu she intended to create for Chris's older relative. After sending the list of ingredients to Chris, he arranged for someone to handle the purchases. In the afternoon, Chris arrived to pick Liv up. Observing Olivia and Chris getting into the car together, Monica clenched her fists, trembling with anger. She had won, hadn't she? So why wasn't Chris paying attention to her? What's happening? In the presidential suite of the Orchid Hotel in New York City, Chef Mario Vincenzo pointed at the picture of Monica smiling in a magazine and exclaimed, "The apprentice I had wanted is not her. There's been some sort of mix-up." Edward lowered his head, his palms and forehead slick with cold sweat. "Sir, didn't you ask which one was in the yellow skirt? I told you it was her." "No, I meant the other one." Chef Mario Vincenzo quivered with anger. He clearly desired another girl with a similar appearance. "What's the name of that other girl from the competition?" Edward gritted his teeth, filled with reluctance. He had manipulated Olivia's dishes. Why did his mentor still favor her? "Her name is Olivia," Bruno hurriedly interjected to smooth things over. "The sisters are very close, they often dress alike, and their actions are similar. It's easy to see how Edward made the mistake." "I don't want this Monica girl as my apprentice, I want Olivia," Chef Mario Vincenzo insisted, frowning. Since he had called for the recruitment competition, he needed to choose the best apprentice. Edward and Bruno exchanged concerned glances. Now that the whole country had already heard Monica was Chef Mario Vincenzo's chosen apprentice, naming a new one at this stage would be a major humiliation. How could Monica face New York City society if this became public knowledge? "Sir, the entire country is already aware that you've taken Monica as your disciple. Changing your choice now would bring shame to the Johnson family. Please reconsider," Bruno implored anxiously. "Edward, apologize for your mistake." "Sir, I deeply regret my mistake." Edward averted his eyes. Chef Mario Vincenzo snorted in response. "What about this?" Bruno presented an idea. "You and my father are both from the same area. Why don't you tell the public that you're doing my father a favor by nominally accepting Olivia as your apprentice as well? If she performs well in the future, you can officially take her as your apprentice at that point." "Not a bad idea," Chef Mario Vincenzo mused, thinking it might be a viable solution. He said, "I'll leave this matter to you." "Thank you, sir," Bruno said. No matter what, he had to protect Monica first. Meanwhile, Olivia had already arrived at Chris's residence. After inquiring about the guest preferences and dietary restrictions, she began her culinary work. The timing couldn't have been better. Just as Olivia served the final dish and turned to add the finishing touches to the stew,
Vera returned with the elderly man.
"Theodore, you must be hungry after your shopping trip. Please, come and eat quickly," Chris called out. "There are so many historical sites in New York City," Vera said with a smile. Today, they had intentionally taken the old man sightseeing. They had invited him to tour the city, but in reality, it was to provide Olivia with the time to prepare a table full of dishes. "We've only visited a third of the places on our list today. I'll take you to the rest another day." Theodore remained silent from the moment he entered the door, his expression growing increasingly serious as the delightful aroma of the dishes filled the air. He took a deep breath, attempting to identify each dish on the table. "Come," Sven urged, gesturing for the old man to clean his hands with a wet towel on the table. He then assisted him to his seat. "Please have a seat. I'll take your crutch for you." "All right," Theodore acquiesced, sitting at the table while his eyes surveyed the spread. The chief had already considered his preferences. The dishes were all well suited for an elderly person like him, with a focus on preserving freshness and maintaining a lighter flavor. The combination of meats and vegetables, along with the colorful presentation, was visibly appealing. "Give it a try, Theodore," Chris offered, extending a pair of utensils. The old man accepted the utensils, picking up the nearest steamed bass and savoring it with care. He narrowed his eyes in satisfaction. The dish was expertly prepared. The fish's inherent taste was perfectly balanced, accompanied by a subtle hint of lemon fragrance. The bass, naturally tender and delicate, melted in his mouth. As he chewed, he could discern the fish's fibrous texture between his teeth and lips. Having sampled the bass, the old man proceeded to try a serving of stir-fried vegetable strips. The chef had stir-fried them quickly to retain their natural moisture, highlighting their crisp texture. This was a challenging skill to master given the delicate balance required between temperature and timing. The old man noted the varied thickness of vegetable strips, recognizing that the chef's knife skills were still a work in progress. After tasting each dish, the old man finally set down his fork, a meaningful smile curling his lips. "What's the matter?" Unable to discern the old man's intentions, Sven asked, "Is there something wrong with the flavors?" "Are you youngsters conspiring to trick me?" the old man quipped, giving the three of them a meaningful look. His intent was clear. They needed to be less formal and more sincere. "Not at all," Vera replied with a slight pout. "We just wanted to welcome you properly. You've come all the way to New York City, and we couldn't let you leave without enjoying a good meal." "That's right," Sven chimed in. "We only know one chef who can cook this well, and that's why we invited her here. With your exceptional culinary skills, it's hard for us to be impressed by ordinary fare." Sven's praise lightened the old man's expression considerably. "Theodore," Chris addressed him, leaning slightly forward and placing his hands on the table. "What do you think? Are you interested in taking on this girl as your apprentice?" The old man, smart since he was young, felt torn. He had been tempted yesterday, but wasn't he still hesitant? Maybe he would regret not taking in such a talented individual. However, he also felt like he was past the days of teaching others how to become master chefs. Just as he grappled with his dilemma, Olivia emerged with soup in hand. She set the pot of soup in the center of the table, lifting the lid to release an intoxicating aroma. "Here you go." Olivia glanced at Chris, unsure of what name to use. "Theodore," Chris reminded her. "Theodore, the soup is ready." Olivia smiled, offering a bowl of soup to the old man. "Let me know if there are any dishes you find unsuitable or if you have any specific preferences." The old man picked up the bowl of soup and took a sip before setting it down with a heavy sigh. Olivia was perplexed. Could her stewed soup really be that unpalatable? She had faced a similar situation during yesterday's competition, even losing to Monica. The old man scrutinized Olivia and asked, "Young lady, do you want to become my apprentice and learn the art of cooking?" Upon hearing the old man's proposal, Olivia momentarily froze. Then she shook her head decisively. "I'm not interested."
Why would she want to become his apprentice and learn cooking? She already had her godmother Desiree to teach her how to cook. Besides, her goal was to establish a game company, not a restaurant. She believed that happiness was the key when it came to cooking, and if she was forced to cook for her job, she wouldn't be happy doing it. Are you out of your mind? Vera couldn't help but roll her eyes in exasperation upon hearing Olivia's response. This was an opportunity that many people could only dream of in their lifetime. Why would this seemingly naive girl decline it? Sweetie, you should hurry up and accept him as your mentor. What are you waiting for? Sven urged impatiently. They had gone to great lengths for this opportunity. The old man laughed heartily. Do you even know who I am, little girl? Oh. Olivia glanced at Chris and then at the old man. You're Chris's grandpa's brother or something, right? His older relative? The old man chuckled again. Chris, you really didn't tell her anything. There was no need, Chris replied, confident that once the old man saw Olivia, the matter of taking an apprentice would be settled. Good. The old man expressed his satisfaction. He looked over at the dishes on the table and asked, Are these all your signature dishes? More or less, Olivia nodded. She had chosen light and delicate dishes because she knew that the guests they were inviting were of an older generation. She understood that such cuisine was easier on the digestion of elderly individuals. Young lady, you're not willing to become my apprentice? The old man asked, gazing directly at Olivia. To be honest, I don't have much interest in pursuing a career in cooking. I've never considered becoming a chef or anything of the sort, Olivia replied, rubbing her hands and offering an apologetic smile. I have more important goals that I came back to life for, she thought. I find joy in cooking and I can do it freely. However, adding the burden of a profession might make it less enjoyable. You have a point, the old man agreed. In that case, consider this as learning the essence as a hobby. How about it? Thanks to me, you won't be bound by any obligations. You can continue doing as you please. I'll fulfill my role as a master, imparting knowledge and answering your questions. Olivia was taken aback, studying the old man closely. What exactly did he mean by fulfilling his role as a master? As the saying goes, a master instructs and answers questions. The old man clarified, That's all I can do. Thank you for your kind offer, Olivia said with a grateful smile. But I'll have to pass, unfortunately. While she enjoyed cooking, she didn't wish to dedicate too much time to it. She had other pursuits to focus on. Are you crazy? Vera exclaimed, stomping her foot in frustration. Liv, do you know who this person is? Yes, your older relative, Olivia replied. No, he's Theodore Jones, the leader of the most world-renowned generation of chefs who are responsible for basically all modern cooking. Sven interjected, rolling his eyes. Sweetie, do you have any idea how much effort we put into convincing him to take you on as an apprentice after we saw you lose to your half-sister in that competition on TV? Why don't you appreciate this incredible opportunity? He's a world-renowned chef? Olivia was taken aback. She had only ever met one of those old celebrity chefs when she met Chef Chang, whom she had encountered at the Cooper family banquet, where Beatrix Cooper tried to make her look bad. You're Theodore Jones? Yep, the old man chuckled while nodding. So how about it? Learning from me isn't a bad deal, is it? Feeling tempted? But aren't you retired? Olivia asked, tilting her head as she looked at Theodore. Theodore's mouth twitched at this point. Did they really need to bring up that matter? That's not important, Chris interjected, giving Sven a significant look. Little girl, Theodore said, clearing his throat as he addressed Olivia. If you want to become my apprentice today, you'll need to decide now. Olivia gazed at Theodore, acknowledging that this was a remarkable opportunity. With his backing, she could not only establish herself in New York City, but also gain influence throughout the country. However, the responsibilities and obligations that came with it were significant. Olivia pursed her lips and glanced at Theodore, deeply moved yet cautious. There were certain things she needed to make clear first. What are you waiting for? Sven urged, knowing full well how temperamental this culinary master could be. If he decided to go back on his word later, even a herd of a buffalo couldn't change his mind. Theodore, Olivia said, smiling faintly as she raised the corner of her mouth. I appreciate your kindness. I'm genuinely tempted. But there are a few conditions I'd like to clarify. First, I won't leave New York for the time being. Her quest for revenge had yet to be completed, and she couldn't leave. Second, I won't make cooking my profession. It was her passion, not a job. Third, if I become your apprentice, I'll respect your rules, but I'll also uphold my own. I hope you won't force me to cook things I don't want to cook. It was better to establish certain boundaries in advance. Very well. Theodore clapped his hands in satisfaction, impressed by Olivia's level-headedness. His identity and status didn't intimidate her, and she was willing to negotiate. This showed mutual respect and a rare combination of intelligence and strong will. I agree. All right, then I'll be your apprentice. Olivia smiled. Good girl. Theodore nodded with a smile. Now that I've accepted you as my apprentice, I'll visit your home tomorrow. After all, I should meet your father. Okay, I'll prepare everything. Olivia agreed. No need, I'll visit them before I depart. Starting tonight, I'll be quite busy. Theodore stated. He looked at Chris and said, You'll handle the details of my visit, won't you, and get everything ready? Of course, I won't let you down. Chris affirmed. What does he mean, get everything ready? Olivia asked, puzzled. It's a significant event for him to take on a new apprentice, Chris explained with a meaningful smile. We want to give it the importance it deserves. At night, Chris and Sven escorted Olivia home. While in the car, Olivia couldn't help but feel that the events of the past 2 days seemed like a dream. During the chef recruitment competition, Olivia lost to Monica and felt inferior to a cooking machine. Yet, she had now become Theodore Jones' apprentice after capturing his attention. Her life had taken a roller coaster-like turn, which could only be described as fantastical. But when she thought about it, it made sense. Her entire experience of being reborn was already wild enough. All these new twists and turns were just par for the course. We're here, Sven announced, bringing the car to a steady stop at the entrance of Yee's mansions. He glanced at Olivia through the rearview mirror. I'll see you tomorrow. See you tomorrow, Olivia replied with a smile and nodded. As she stepped out of the car, Olivia was surprised to see that Chris had also exited the vehicle. Is there something you need? Come with me for a moment, Chris said, taking hold of Olivia's wrist and leading her toward her house. How will you thank me? Olivia realized that she owed Chris another favor. How would you like me to thank you? You act so independently every day, Chris teased, his eyes twinkling. Liv, aren't we even closer now? Blushing slightly at Chris's teasing, Olivia stared at him and playfully said, That's right, your older relative is my mentor, so really, I'm sort of hanging out with a generation older than you. You should probably call me Auntie now. Aunt. Chris raised an eyebrow. This girl was quite clever. Despite him helping her, she was trying to tease him. Without warning, Chris stepped closer, his arms encircling her waist. He leaned in and whispered in her ear, I'll call you Aunt, but shouldn't you also call me the guy you have a crush on? You? Olivia's face flushed red, her ears turning crimson. She tried to push Chris away, but he took a step back, smiling and waving his hand. Sleep well, Auntie. Your crush has to go. Chris, you are so. Olivia wanted to respond, but found herself at a loss for words. All she could do was stomp her foot in frustration. In high spirits, Chris settled into the sapphire blue sports car, patting Sven on the shoulder. Let's go, Brother Condor. Huh? Sven was momentarily bewildered. Why was he suddenly Brother Condor? That was never his nickname before. Chris was becoming increasingly eccentric, Sven thought as he started the car and pressed down on the accelerator. Hearing the engine's roar, a sly grin spread across Sven's lips. He had an insatiable love for this sound. The mere thought of a day without the chance to drive a sports car sent shivers down his spine. It would be worse than a death sentence. He accelerated along the road, which was devoid of other vehicles at that moment. The pedal pressed firmly against the floor, creating a symphony of wind whistling, tires gripping the road, and the sheer thrill of speed. Sven's excitement swelled with every passing second. He relished this exhilaration.
"Sven, it's about time," Chris reminded him, glancing at the scenery flashing by the window.
"All right." Sven reluctantly eased off the accelerator. Just as he did, a black Bentley came hurtling toward them. Its momentum was terrifying as it charged forward against the traffic. "Damn it," Sven cursed, and quickly swerved to avoid a collision.